take a moment of silence, please, and remember all those that are suffering at this time. Please rise for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meeting Act, a public notice of this meeting has been sent to board members, all district schools, the Herald News, the Suburban Trends, the Record, the Messenger, West Milford Town Hall, the County Superintendent's Office, the Board Attorney, and Cable Vision of Warwick, and posted in the Administration Building. Copies of the board meeting calendar resolution were provided to all local media, Town Hall, Township Library, and all district schools. Roll call, Mrs. Francisco?
Mrs. Romeo?
Here.
Mrs. Stevenson?
Here.
Mr. Conklin?
Here.
Mrs. Dwyer?
Here.
Mr. Garino?
Here.
Mrs. Fritz?
Here.
Mr. Ovshinsky?
Here.
Mr. Stillman?
Here.
Mrs. Van Dyke?
Here. We need a motion to go into executive session.
Okay, I move that at 7:02, the board move into executive session for approximately 30 minutes for the purpose of conducting one HIV parent appeal.
I need-
Executive session minutes will not be released until such time as the privilege of confidentiality is no longer applicable.
I need a second. Kate? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We will be out after, probably till 7:30, you think? Probably till about 7:30.
Wow. I didn't realize we had that. Huh? Yeah. I got the bad table in the restaurant.
Mr. Conklin? Mrs. Stevenson?
Here.
Mr. Stillman?
Here.
Mrs. Dwyer?
Here.
Mrs. Fritz?
Here.
Mr. Garino?
Here.
Mr. Ovshinsky?
Here.
Mrs. Romeo?
Here.
Mrs. Van Dyke?
Dr. Animal, your report?
I'm going to use the screen, but you probably don't have to move unless you want to. We have the handout in front of you.
I don't want to block them.
All right, good evening, everybody. I hope you can hear me. We lowered the fans and we shut them off actually so you could, so we didn't have to shout over that. So today is our return to school plan. A few weeks ago, as you know, Governor Murphy and then Commissioner Brecolette put together the roadmap, which was our plan to reopen school buildings in September. All school districts were required to have a plan that included some in-person instruction. It didn't say how often, how long, how you split your day up. They gave districts a lot of flexibility to come up with their own plans that work for their communities. Every community is just a little bit different, so we did appreciate the flexibility. I think the one-size-fits-all doesn't work. There are some districts that are 1 or 2 square miles, and everybody walks to school. They have different issues than we have with 80-plus square miles. So we feel we have a plan here that works for West Milford. It may not work in another community, but we think it works here. Right? So just a brief review of the timeline. It seems like forever ago. It was about 4 months ago when we closed our school buildings down. It was Friday, March 13th was the last day of in-person education. On that Monday, we started our distance learning. And our teachers, our administrators, our students, our parents did a great job transitioning very, very quickly to something we had never done before. It's very easy to forget how innovative this was. I said never happened before, we did it very well. It doesn't mean that every single aspect of distance learning for 3 months was perfect, even though we had some hiccups, and we are working to correct those for September. So for the first approximately 2 months of the school's quarantine, we held out hope that we would be back in the spring for the end of last school year. We had spring sports, we had prom, we had graduation, we had a lot of end-of-year activities we were looking to get in. But in early May, the governor announced that buildings were going to remain closed for the rest of the 1920 school year. So the very next day, in addition to planning on all our end-of-year activities, so the next day we shifted our focus for graduation and whatnot, final exam. We had to rethink that. And simultaneously, we put together a restart committee to look ahead for the 2021 school year. So approximately from May 5th through June 19th, we were doing 2 things. We had 1 foot in the world of 2019-20, and we wanted to make sure we finished our school year well, especially for our seniors. And we were also simultaneously planning for 2020-21 and how to open school. So right after graduation, we sent home a distance learning survey. We had over 1,200 responses, parents mostly. We asked them essentially what worked, what didn't work. If we do this in the future, what do you want to see? What changes can we make? And we had our own ideas anyway, based on teacher administrator feedback, and we wanted to hear from our parents. About 2 weeks later, we sent out another mini survey, even more responses, 1,500, which asked parents questions about the 2021 school year, specifically, do you plan on, if we open schools, do you plan on sending your child on the bus? Things of that nature. So we have these responses here. We use this to formulate a plan for September. It was discussed with the Education Committee of the Board of Ed last Tuesday, and here we are tonight. So there is a resolution to approve a plan on the agenda for this evening. It also has to be approved by the county. So if it's approved tonight, we have to notify parents, obviously, of what our plan is. We would have to send it down to the county, and there's a possibility that there might be 1 or 2 edits that they ask us to make. So we're going to be using August to continue to modify this return to school plan. And there could also be an executive order from Governor Murphy which says, oh, by the way, school buildings will not be open on September 1st. They will be open on October 1st, or November 1st, or January 1st, or whatever. So we also have a plan for that. That is mostly not in this PowerPoint, because we do think we are coming back to school. We want to give our parents and our children and our teachers a chance to come back into our school buildings.
Alex, they're saying on live stream it's hard for you to hear you with your, maybe you could do it without your mask. I don't know if if you're comfortable with it. All right, maybe talk a little louder.
I'll talk a little louder.
Okay.
So the purpose of our restart committees. We started in May, and we split them up into 2 groups, Committee A and Subcommittee B. Subcommittee A discussed distance learning. So if school districts do not open in September, if school buildings do not open in September, what are we going to do differently? And there's some things in this presentation you'll notice, but the other half was how do we open our buildings safely? So we had 2 groups working simultaneously, side by side. So we have a recommendation here. It's an A-day, B-day split schedule, which means that half of our students will be attending school on A days, which are Monday, Wednesday, and every other Friday. The other half will be attending schools on Tuesday, Thursday, and the alternating Fridays. School will be dismissed on early dismissal schedule, and there will be distance learning with attendance requirements on days students are not physically in school. So on an A-day, for example, the A-day students will be in school with their teachers, half of them, and the other half will be B-day students. They will log in from home. We used our summer reading program to pilot this method, and it seems to be working very well. The feedback from teachers, administrators, and parents is very positive. So we're going to have that's a pretty big difference from last spring, where the attendance requirement was not necessarily there for a morning login, and then we had to chase some students down, which is very difficult when they're not coming to school. So the good thing is we reduce our student population by half. So our classrooms that have 20 students in them, you only see 10 in the classroom. Obviously, we'll have a sibling priority, which means all siblings will be assigned the same day. They'll all be A days, and they'll all be B days. We are planning to be flexible with parents on this. So if you have a neighbor or a friend or a work situation that requires you to be on A day, we'll accommodate you. We're planning on splitting our students in half by alphabet. However, exceptions will be made for people who have carpool issues, daycare issues, work issues. We're trying to accommodate as many people as we can. So parents will have the option of selecting a 100% distance learning experience for their child. This will involve no in-school days, neither A day nor B day. Those students will be home all the time, both days, which we believe will further reduce our student population even more. So maybe 10% of our student population takes that option, you already lost 10%. And then if you split that remaining 90%, you're really at like 45% each day, so it could be less than half. Our student grading rubrics. Last spring, New Jersey was in a traumatic place. Our coronavirus numbers were spiking daily. Many people died, thousands of people died. We lost friends, neighbors, coworkers, parents, grandparents, and we did have some relaxed grading norms in the spring. So we felt with people going through what they were going through, to hassle them over the difference between a 59 and a 60 might not have been in the best interest of anybody. However, in September, our grading rubrics will be switched back to normal, as you might call them. Masks and face coverings are mandatory in the schools and on the bus. We will social distance in school and on the bus. It will be similar to this type of layout. I have some slides up ahead, which will show a socially distanced classroom and socially distanced cafeteria. And the good news about this plan is we retain the ability to switch to 100% distance learning with very, very little notice. So if school buildings open on September 1st, on September 30th, we get a notification from Trenton that says, today is the last day of in-person school. Tomorrow will be 100% distance learning. We'll be ready for 1 day's notice. We won't need a week to prepare. We're going to know these two students need a Chromebook and a charging cable. We're going to know what we're doing at that point. So there's an alternate option if the board so chooses. An 8A, B-day split schedule, which is very similar to what we just had, early dismissal. This involves essentially 4 days of in-school instruction instead of 5. There's 8A students who would be Monday, Tuesday only. B-day students who would be Thursday, Friday only. And Wednesday would be 100% distance learning for everybody, where the buildings would undergo a deep clean in between those two cohorts coming into school. Very similar bullet points here: reduce our student population, sibling priority. Parents will have the option of doing 100% distance learning. So in a minute when we finish this, we'll kind of ask the board which model they prefer: Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, Tuesday, Thursday, Fridays, or this model right here, which is Monday, Tuesday only, Thursday, Friday only, Wednesday, distance learning. So those are going to be the two options we select from tonight. Okay, return to normalcy. This is in-person instruction. This is where we were before before the pandemic hit. 100% in person, and we shifted right here to 100% distance learning. The goal is to get back into this green, but I don't think we're ready. I know this district's talking about bringing 100% of the students back every day in September. I don't think we're ready for that. So this is sort of an in-between stopover, a halfway point, splitting the difference, so to speak, to get us to here. So what's different from your normal school year is personal protective equipment, PPE. Staff and students will wear masks and face coverings in the schools and on the bus. We will provide masks, however, they can be brought from home. I know some of the PTAs are looking at having fundraisers with the West Milford Gators, with the students like to wear it. Our nurses will have access to additional PPE, as will staff upon request. Students will be screened at home and upon entering the building. This does not mean a temperature check. It just means they will be screened by parents at home and throughout the day by their teachers. All right. Some of the things are very obvious. No communal supplies. Our secondary students won't change for gym class because we don't want them packed into locker rooms. No assemblies, no large group instructions. We're going to stagger our arrival and dismissals. We could potentially stagger our bell schedule so not every student is in the hallway at the same time. We do have outdoor marching band now, and they're using socially distanced guidelines and parameters for their summer camp. That should be able to continue in the fall. However, I don't see any way that the chorus classes inside the building could continue as regular.
There's still a problem with the volume, Alex. I don't know if there's something with the live feed maybe that is not happening. I know it's hard, but you got to really speak up, I guess.
So I just don't think there's any way we could have chorus classes inside this year. There could be a virtual component, and that needs to be developed a little bit more. What's different? Our classrooms will look a little bit different. Some of the group seating is going to be gone. The cooperative seating groups. We have 2 stairwells, just for example, here at Westbrook. One will be down, one will be up. We're postponing our field trips in the fall. Doesn't mean we can't have them in the spring. It just means we're not going to have them in the fall. There'll be some pedagogy changes. On a simple note basis, you have the kindergarten teachers probably won't be on the rug with the students in a small reading group. That's going to have to be spread out. So there are some teaching differences, some pedagogy changes that we're going to have to see in September. Back to school night will be a virtual evening. We have limited after-school programs, and we've been recruiting substitute teachers, substitute nurses, substitute bus drivers, and substitute custodians since probably early May. In the cafeterias, there was not going to be your typical self-service station where the students walk in, get their food, and walk out. It's going to be grab-and-go meals. We're going to have fixed and limited seating arrangements, so the students are no longer going to be able to push their desks together to have a group lunch. It's going to be spread out. We purchased 600 new hand sanitizing stations. These are just the Purell things you see on the wall. They're going in all summer. Signage around the schools reminding students to wash their hands, stay 6 feet apart. You might see some stickers on the floor that you see in the store. Line up here, and 6 foot, line up here, along those lines. We will be doing contact tracing. Our nurses and our admins, led by Dr. McQuaid, will be trained in August on a Johns Hopkins course. So what is the same? Some of our special education programs will run 5 days a week. So if your child is in a particular special education program, he or she will attend schools on A and B days. Some of our primary grade students involved in reading programs will be eligible for in-person instruction 5 days a week. That's A and B days for some students. You'll be notified by your principal or by the director of education or the director of special services if your child qualifies. Grading rubrics, I mentioned before, they will return to our traditional grading rubrics A, B, C, D, F, at the secondary levels. SAC will be offered at the elementary schools pending enrollment, pending demand. And schools will undergo a deep cleaning every day. Okay, so that's the nuts and bolts. The academic piece I want to just touch on very briefly here. What you see here is a typical school year. I had third grade here, a third grade student. He or she starts off as a 3.0. That's third grade, start of the school year, and they increase every month till June till they hit 4.0. And your average third grader by the end of June is a 4.0. And then there's always a little bit of backsliding until you get to the start of school. It's called the summer slide, because the kids aren't in school every day in the summer. They're on their bicycles, they're at the lake, they're at sports camps. What we think is going to happen now for next year is we're adding a COVID slide, which we're calling a COVID slide. So we think our students last year had the same learning curve, but we think from April, May, June, they learned more, they learned less rather than a typical year. They didn't learn nothing, but they learned a little bit less. So we think that curve, that learning curve flattened out a little bit. And then of course you add now the summer slide, and students entering fourth grade next year might not be here, they might be here. So we need to make use of every day, every class period, every minute, every homework assignment, every assessment needs to be administered with purpose. We think we're going to have to catch our students up. How do we plan on doing that? How do we know if this is really happening or it happened? And the answer is we have a nationally normed benchmark assessment called Lincoln. And in a typical school year, you'll have 3 Lincoln assessments, A, B, and C, in that order. A is the fall, B is the winter, and C is the spring. And last year, we did not take benchmark C. We stopped at B because students weren't in school, and I don't know that would have been a valid administration for students to take a standardized test at home. So we did not administer benchmark C. So our tentative plans for September will be to complete benchmark C for last year's grade, to see where our students are, to see if they need to catch up or how much they need to catch up. So if your child was in second grade last year, he will take the benchmark C for last year's grade for second grade. And this year's third grade teacher will see these students are way behind where they are typically. Once we move on, then once we identify those gaps, those weaknesses, we can really develop a plan to help each student move forward. Okay, PPE. All staff, students, and visitors must wear a mask or a face covering inside the buildings, on the school buses. We've ordered plexiglass barriers to be installed in critical areas where social distancing is difficult. Could be an office in the school where there's 2 secretaries that work in close proximity. There's a lot of areas the principals are communicating with Mr. Kelly, and they're ordering it, and they're hanging it from the ceilings. So it's going to eventually look like a Dunkin' Donuts with stickers on the floor and plexiglass between a parent and the secretary when you walk in the building, perhaps. Okay, the importance of masks or face covering. This is a slide I got off a New York State presentation. So in May, there was a story, I don't know if you read it, but I remember when it came out, it was pretty interesting. There were 2 hairstylists who, on a sneak, opened up their salon when they shouldn't have. There was a lockdown. They let 139 people in the back door for a haircut or a hair whatever, and it turns out they had COVID, both hairstylists. So they then had to notify the 139 clients, you need to go into quarantine for 2 weeks. I have it, I cut your hair for a half hour, you most likely have it. And it turns out 0 of those 139 caught COVID. And the reason they believe is because the hairstylist and the client both wore masks. They were in very close proximity to one another for more than 10 minutes, but none of them got COVID. And that was the moment it started to turn in favor of face coverings. Okay, transportation. So masks or face coverings mandatory. We did our non-binding parent survey, and about 1/3 of our parents said students will not be on the bus this year. So this is a reduction in addition to the 50% of students that would not be in school on any given day, or more than 50%. So we believe we're going to have enough room to have one child per seat. Obviously, we can pair siblings together. We encourage our parents to drive their children to and from school. We're probably going to get a little bit more traffic, but that's something we can work around. And our buses will be cleaned and disinfected twice a day, after the morning run and after the afternoon run. So this is the classroom upstairs, Westbrook. This is what socially distancing a classroom looks like. I believe there's 10 students in this classroom. It's one of the smaller classrooms upstairs, but this is what it would look like. So each desk would be 6 feet apart from one another. This is what a socially distanced cafeteria looks like. Each cone representing one student. We can fit 3 students at each typical elementary table. Nursing services, our students and staff are screened every day at home and at school. If someone should present symptoms, we have the ability to quarantine them of 6 feet or more from other students in the nurse's office. We have our nurses teaching our students lessons this year on hand washing, mask wearing, other preventative measures. We are going to have to update some IHPs for some high-risk students. And again, contact tracing is going to be an important part of this safety moving forward. Simply put, we're going to identify people who have a disease and let the people they know or they've been with that they need to get tested. Buildings and grounds. We will shut off our water fountains for drinking, but we will have the bottle filling stations open. So they're hands-free. Parents are going to be encouraged to send their child in with a reusable wide-mouth bottle. Much of the research involving large-scale COVID spread, they connect to the 3 C's, closed spaces, crowded places, and close contact settings, which are something you find a lot in a public school. So that's what we're trying to eliminate by reducing our student load every day. We're increasing the ventilation in every classroom. We're requesting that windows remain open, weather permitting, to increase airflow. We're adding hand sanitizer stations to the schools. We have plant-based cleaning and disinfectant used. These are disinfectants proven to kill COVID or coronavirus. And we do have electrostatic sprayers like this to facilitate a deep cleaning. So a custodian can clean one classroom in very little time compared to a spray bottle in a rag. So the digital component, we have a one-to-one Chromebook initiative for all students 6 to 12. We're actually discussing potentially moving that down to grade 5 as well. But for right now, we have the plan for grades 6 to 12. We have Chromebooks at the elementary level for our pre-K to 5 students. In the event that we move to distance learning, the Chromebooks can be signed out by families to take home and leave at home. You may have heard people talk about, I got a Zoom later, Zoom became a verb. This year we're going to tie everything in with our Google Classroom, and we're going to use Google Meet. So you won't be seeing any Zooms next year, but you will be seeing Google Meet, which we think is a better platform. We use Google Classroom, all of our schools, all of our teachers, so the Google Meet connects better with that. We didn't have too many tech issues last spring, but the few tech issues we had were the Zoom didn't work, as opposed to the Google Meet didn't work, because we never heard that. It was typically the Zoom that was the issue. We have Class Link, which solves the problem of all the different logins and the sign-ins. So students will just have one login and one password, and that connects them to all the other apps, all the other software that we use. We have some hours on our board agenda tonight to approve our District Ed Tech Committee in August. They will finalize some additional plans. Okay, this is off of Governor Murphy's PowerPoint from, I think, yesterday. So this is the estimated rate of virus reproduction. In March, it was 5.31, which just means that every person was infecting about 5.5 other people. And those 5.5 were infecting 5.5 more. And then we got it down to 0.7. So anything under 1.0 and the virus is shrinking. So right now, we're estimating it's at 0.9, which is just under 1.0. But the concern I have is it's barely under 1, and schools are not in session. So the question is, what happens to this number when schools go back in session? I think if it goes higher than 1, higher than 1.0, that means the virus is growing again, it's increasing in numbers, and there's a chance that we could hear from the governor that we're back to stage 0 or stage whatever they call that. So it's possible that if this number stays low, we'll be okay to stay in school. If it spikes, I think we could be ripping up this plan and getting a new plan. So it's something to look at. It's not that much lower than 1 now, and school is not in session. So that's a concern. All right, and ultimately, we're looking for this return to normalcy. Governor Murphy says data determine dates. So in other words, school is supposed to start September 1. However, if the data looks bad, it will not open September 1. The data will tell us when to open. It could be a last-minute decision. I hope it's not. I hope they give us some time to make our adjustments, but we'll be ready regardless. And I'll leave us with a little quote here by C.S. Lewis. Experience is the most brutal of teachers, but you learn. My God, do you learn. Does anybody on the board have any questions?
I do.
I think we need to go, yeah, you're probably going to have to go around. Go ahead, Terry.
What percentage of teachers do you expect to not come back? Do you have an estimate of how many teachers will not be returning because of the virus?
We think there's going to be some. I don't have a number. We have reason to believe.
Can you do me a favor?
Yes.
Can you just repeat her question?
So the question was, do we know how many staff members are not going to come back in September? We don't know that now.
Okay.
So we think there'll be some. I don't know how many some is, but there will be some.
Okay, and I'm a bit confused. I'm confused. You have a half day, well, an early dismissal on some days. You have a full teaching, distance learning on another day. And then on those afternoons, you have distance learning also? Like after the kids get out of school, do they go home and get more lessons?
No, the students who leave school are done for the day.
Okay.
The other group of students would get instruction in the afternoon.
Okay, now what happens, what are these, I'm concerned about, because you're going to have kids that are home, parents are not going to want to send their children back, so they're going to be distant learning. What are they going to be doing when teachers are actually teaching classes? I don't understand how a teacher's going to be handling this. It looks difficult.
It's definitely difficult. It's not easy to be a teacher. I think you saw a lot of social media posts last year where people were saying, teachers are underpaid, they should make $1 million a year. So essentially, you're going to have half the students in school on Monday and half of them home.
Well, I know that, but the kids the parents who have chosen not to send their children back, and they're getting distance learning, how are they doing that if teachers are teaching part of the day, preparing the other part of the day, and then it just sounds like so much.
It's a lot for teachers. That's absolutely.
So they're going to have to when are they going to do this distance learning, the teachers?
In the afternoon, after the group in school leaves, they'll have a session. So the teachers are working a full day. The students will be dismissed early, but the teachers will remain to the end of a normal day. So there'll be about 90 minutes in there where the teachers can work with the students who are home.
It just sounds like so much. And what about, what do you have ordered as far as safety equipment for the teachers, the kids?
We're giving everybody a mask. We're allowing them to wear their masks that they bring from home. Okay, we have plexiglass that we're installing now in all high-risk areas. Signage all over schools, Purell dispensers, the electrostatic sprayers. It's going to be the cleanest our schools have ever been. And with the reduced student load, we think the custodians will have a little bit more time during the day to dedicate to deep cleaning. For example, if the cafeteria is half empty, it can get done quicker, and then they can go clean some other high-touch areas, doorknobs, handrails, maybe light switches, things of that nature.
The other thing I'm concerned about with this, early dismissal, 20 years ago, we could say a school's job is not for childcare. But so many of our parents have to work now. I mean, to keep a roof over their head, food on the table. What happens to these kids when they go home during early dismissal and the parents have to work? I mean, to me, that's a concern.
It's a challenge for teachers, it's also a challenge for parents. So that, there could be an option of going full day with our students, which gives parents a little bit more time that their kids are counted in school. So that's something we could consider instead of an early dismissal schedule, a full day of classes.
But how would we address the distance learning need?
Well, that's the downside to that.
Because you're still going to have half the kids in, so you have to be able to give them something. We have to be able to service them every day also.
That's the challenge, and you have to weigh the balances of the A-Day students and the B-Day students. And I don't know if there's an easy answer, but I think the reasonable compromise would be to have both students getting teacher contact every day. Some students would get it in person for 4 hours. Some would get it at home for 90 minutes, but then alternate days. I think it's a reasonable compromise. Part of the issue last year was when students were home, some of them, not many, but some didn't do as much work as they should have. And now if a student doesn't do work, you'll see him the next day. So he's not going to disappear for 3 months. We'll see him the next day, and it's why did you do this assignment, as opposed to constantly chasing the student down, which we had to do last year, call home every day to get in touch with somebody. It was hard. And now if students are coming in every other day, they can run, but they can't hide.
I have one more question. What percentage of children do you expect not to return in September?
I'm guessing 10%. I have colleagues who are guessing 20%. So maybe you split the difference and say 15%. So we're going to ask parents to notify us by August 15th so we can account for if it's just a small handful of kids, it's going to be very easy to manage. If it's 20% and 25%, you're talking about a few hundred students. So that becomes a little bit different of an issue.
It does.
And I don't know, I'm just guessing 10%. We'll see, on August 15th.
Okay, thank you.
Nicole?
Two things that I have. Can you just clarify, we hadn't seen the alternate option, right, in committee? That's a new one, or no?
Correct.
Okay. I happen to like that schedule, and in looking at that, I just want to make sure, so is the Wednesday, like everyone's home, everyone's distance learning on their own or with teachers?
With teachers. So
Okay.
teachers would work 5 days a week. There would be instruction on those days, but it would be not in-school instruction. It would be distance learning.
Okay.
Where the custodians could get a deeper clean in our building in between cohorts.
Okay. And then, the A-Day, Monday, Tuesday, kids are in school, half a day. I just think I missed it, and I just want to make sure I understand. At the end of that half day in person, the B kids do distance learning
Correct.
with teachers?
With teachers.
Okay.
Because teachers are going to be there the full day. They would just, so once you leave school on A-Day, if you're an A-Day student, your day is finished, other than homework or other stuff that you normally would be, but you would not have afternoon instruction on the computer. That would be the other half of the student body.
Got it, okay. And my other question is thinking more at the high school level. How's it going to work? I know we've talked a lot about sports and band being still outside. How's that supposed to work for kids who are A-Day kids, but have practices, games, et cetera, on B days in their home, may not have rides? What are we supposed to do about all those athletes and band kids that can't get up there?
That's a huge concern as well. So we know our coaches, our band instructors, they want their kids at practice every day. it's reasonable to assume that a high school kid can't just miss 2 practices a week because, so we need to find a way to either get them to school or they need to find a way to get to school to practice. Whether that's parents, neighbors, friends, carpools, we're not sure. It's going to be difficult to bus them
Right.
because they can come from all over this community. You might have 5 soccer players home, and one's UGL, one's PK, one's Apshua. It could be a 2-hour ride every day to get 5 students to practice, which may not be the best use of our money. So it's an issue. It's a concern, that's for sure.
Okay. I just also wanted to say thank you. I know a lot has gone into all of these plans, and I know there's no perfect solution. I think we'd all like to see the kids get in school and be normal and be with their teachers and their friends, and hopefully we'll get there, but thanks for the effort on
We are
this.
going to get there. It may not be tomorrow, it may not be September 1, but we're going to get there together as a community. Our kids are going to have their lives come back to normal at some point. We don't know when, but it's going to happen, and we just have to get through it until then. So
And-
positive thoughts are always better than I
next.
think.
Courtney, you're next.
Thanks. I read through a lot of the comments, most of them on the survey, and a lot of the comments were really very negative about our distance learning that we did. The majority of people said we want to go back to school in September. We all want our kids back to school in September, mainly for social and emotional reasons. But we're going to have to do some distance learning. So can we be assured that there's going to be structure and consistency besides just having the grading rubric back, making sure that the expectations are set across elementary schools, across middle school, across high school, that there will be some structure?
Yes, in fact, we have our summer reading program now. I wish Mr. Novak was here. He could do a good job explaining it, but in the spring, probably like in April, before, we got an option in late June to offer our summer programs in schools or at home, but we had already developed all of our plans already, and we weren't really ready in early July to bring back our teachers and students. So we used the summer reading program as an example as a dry run, as a practice for our fall opening of schools. So the summer reading program is elementary age students. So these are students who you would think would have the most difficulty on a computer as opposed to a 11th or 12th grader. So they have daily schedules, daily check-ins. So you open your computer at this time. From here to here is your reading class. And then the next minute comes, you go to your writing class. And then, so it's a schedule that works. The teachers have a schedule. This is where I am at this time. The students have a schedule. So there's going to be a check-in in the morning, but there'll also be check-ins throughout the day. So on a distance learning in the afternoon, you might have math 1:30 to 1:50, or 2 o'clock, or whatever it is. And the students log in. The teacher knows she's teaching math. The students know they're learning math at home. So most likely some of the distance learning for elementary on the off days is going to be focused on the core subjects, math, reading, writing, those subjects. Because we only have 90 minutes in the afternoon, it's mostly going to be used for the core subjects, math and English. So yes, to answer your question, there will be a lot more structure in September. We did a good job in the spring, but we can do better in the fall.
And then I just had one more thought, really, that I don't think we've talked about in committee or here, but maybe a little bit in committee. Kids are going to get sick. Teachers are going to get sick. And I'm wondering, I'm totally stealing this from another school district, can we do pandemic teams within each school where you have people who set up emergency things for what to do when the child is sick and the teacher is sick, scheduling, one colleague picks up the other teacher's classes, counseling for all those students, because that picture of bacteria, that's not normal. So there's going to be kids who are freaking out that they're going to a cafeteria like that. Just different cleaning procedures and PPE, and I'm just thinking it needs to be not put on Dr. McQuaid, not put on Mr. Novak, but just within each school, a team of teachers and nurses and counselors that can be responsible for those different things.
So I didn't put it in my PowerPoint. I probably should have in hindsight. But in the written plan, near the back, there's a pandemic response team for each school, led by the principal, but also includes social and emotional components. And we know that's going to be something we have to focus on in the fall, because the students didn't just lose academics, they lost a lot of, there's some mental health concerns now. Issues dealing with loneliness, abandonment, loss, trauma. We know that's going to happen. A lot of the research in New Orleans after Katrina, I guess 15 years ago, was that the students eventually academically caught up to where they were. They had probably about this time of year, late summer, the city got flooded, the school years was just almost essentially a lost year, but eventually they found the students caught up academically. Their issues long-term were social and emotional issues that they had from seeing people die, houses get flooded, businesses destroyed, all that trauma. So we'll catch them up with math. However, there's some other things we have to focus on first. We're talking about teaching a whole child, this is it. Essentially, that's what we're going to be doing in September.
Kate?
Sure. With that being said, I hope that when you look at the CARES Act funding, that you can talk possibly about having full-time social workers at our elementary school again. I don't know how we've been functioning this long without full-time social workers, but I've said that in these meetings many times, and I will continue to say it. I think now more than ever, we're going to have more kids that are having trauma or ACE or need to see a counselor. We're going to need more groups run. I'm very excited that, and thank you, Liz, for the groups that are on from the agenda tonight for August. I think that's wonderful. It just shows the need that we really still need to be talking about social workers full-time in our elementary schools. Couple random things. I did see juniors and seniors at the high school are encouraged to drive. Have we discussed the leaving fee or anything like that?
We discussed it. We don't think we have come to a decision yet.
Okay.
And we do have room. Our senior lot used to be packed with seniors when we had 400 seniors, and now that we have significantly less, we have empty spots. So our juniors, our older juniors who have cars, who have licenses, we can have them drive. It thins out our buses as well. So it's something we need to decide. We don't have to decide it now, but there is a parking fee for students at the high school. I'm blanking on how much it is, maybe.
$75?
No, $5 a month.
So $50 a year. We could discuss waiving that, cutting it in half, doing whatever we wanted to do it. But we are trying to encourage our buses to get a little bit smaller.
Also, I was shocked to see tonight, not that it's bad or good, I thought that the recommendation was going to be for elementary A and B day full day and 6 to 12. I thought that's what committee discussed, so that was a change from last week.
We discussed a lot last week.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
there was a lot of discussion going on. That's one part of it. We could do that. Elementary full day. Secondary early dismissal. There's some benefits to that. There's some things that might not work. The distance learning piece, I'd like to give our teachers some time to plan coherent lessons for their afternoon kids. Without that, the day that they're home, the distance learning becomes homework. It becomes worksheets, it becomes log in and do these 10 questions. It probably isn't as much instructional value as face-to-face time with the teacher every single day. So that's what our kids are going to have this fall.
And that's why 2 meetings ago, I talked about having our elementary teachers looking to get trained in project-based learning, because then it's not worksheets, and then you're not sending kids home with busy work. Then you're doing full lessons for a month at a time with project-based learning that I haven't seen yet here in West Milford as a parent. At the high school and middle school level, I think, yes, that's definitely happening. I would love to see more training, PD for our teachers, elementary-wise, with project-based learning, because then we're not just sending them home with homework. We're doing long-term learning with real-life things, and I think that's what we need to focus on. But other questions I have is, I like the sprayer. I was wondering how many do you have?
We have one for each school.
Okay.
We ordered them.
Buses?
We ordered them on March 16th or 17th. We got them last week. So they're on back order.
PPA is tough.
We could order more now. We probably get them according to our vendor for January. So they're still on back order. We do have it for all our buildings, right? Do we have one for transportation?
Yes, and they have, the solution they're using, they can use pump spray. So similar to what you would use in your garden, they can put the solution in and then it's easier for them to carry around also.
Dr. Animal, can I just make a comment about the question that you had regarding the social workers and psychologists in the elementary building? So it is in the more detailed plan part, not the presentation, but we do plan to schedule a social worker and/or a school psychologist at the elementary buildings every day. So we'll be borrowing from child study team to do that and rearranging the way our schedules will be for the fall.
That's, we'd be very happy that the need is recognized. And I will continue to ask that we look for funds to hire full-time people to be there every day, even after COVID. But it is trauma, and these changes are not going to go away. Our kids are always going to remember that March 13th was their last day at school, and they will have things that remind them stuff will have more difficulty, and others will move on very quickly. So, thank you, Liz.
Kate, this is what it's in, right here. You should have one at your seat.
And one of my last questions, I think, is just, I'm confused on, I see your recommendation is the editing it, and then the alternate option. So what are you asking us to vote on tonight?
Which of those we would prefer, the board would prefer. So,
I think that's so hard when, what will assigned staff do that doesn't return? What is staff required to do? Will they be required to, will we still have teachers working from home if they have medical, or will we be requiring them to do FMLA?
if school buildings are open, the staff will have to be in the building, or they'll have to take a leave.
So we won't be having any teachers working from home assigned to do distance learning?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay.
They'll be, the students will be working with their classroom teacher. The teacher will have some students of his or hers in the building every day and at home every day. So, yes,
That
correct.
makes me think, well, what about all the kids who are going to opt to do distance learning?
And that's something.
It's frustrating.
It depends on the numbers, first of all. If it's excessively high, where we have to create essentially an extra section, then we could do that way. It'd have to be enough in one grade though. And even if they were in different schools, it might be okay. However, if it's just one or two students per class, they would join that teacher's class on the distance learning day.
Do you think teachers could be doing multiple grade levels for a group of children who are doing distance learning hours?
I don't believe so. In high school, you have some mixed graded classes, but other than that, you wouldn't have it at Macapin or the elementary level.
Ray?
So, just wondering, we have students that are going to be in class, students that we're going to teach at home full-time, and then students we're going to teach at home as part of the AB schedule. So, how are teachers going to have to make lesson plans for 3 different types of learning?
Well, the second two groups will be the same instruction.
Well, no, because if you're distance learning full-time, how is that? That's definitely different than somebody that's only doing it 2 full days a week, right? They're doing it 5 days a week.
Right, that'd be half the time they'd be with their 8A distance learning kids, and half the time they'd be B days with the B day kids. So we're not thinking of that as a separate group. If you're a second grade teacher at Paradise Knoll and you have 2 students who opt out, they want to do distance learning, they will check in every morning at 8 a.m. or 8:30, and then at 1:30 they'll have their distance learning lessons every day from 1:30 to 3. So it's not a separate class, they're part of an existing class.
I get that, but if I'm someone who chooses to keep my son or daughter home, right, because I'm nervous about what COVID is, and you're telling me that kids in school, they're going to be there, and really they're only missing 90 days of the time that they're in school. And now my son's only going to get 90 minutes of class on Monday, and then 90 minutes of class on Tuesday,
Correct.
right? And then maybe distance learning all day on Wednesday with that alternate plan, and then 90 minutes on Thursday and Friday, where every other day or Monday, Tuesday, those kids that are in school, they're going to be in school for 4 hours,
Sure.
right? So they're going to be learning for 4 hours. So again, I just want us to be aware of that. The other thing is, I know you keep saying
The
50,
minutes don't add up.
right?
I know there's some students with some significant health concerns, but it's not that many kids.
Okay.
So I would advise we want all our kids in school, because I think if you're home every day, you lose something. You don't get that teacher contact. You don't get the social skills with your friends. There's a lot going on in schools besides math and English and social studies. So we're encouraging all of our families to come back to us in September. We know some won't, and the 90 minutes of instruction every afternoon might not be equal to the 4 hours in school, but that's a choice you're going to have to make. So.
And I agree with what you're saying. We want the kids in school. And to that point, we're talking about the primary grades that you were mentioning. So you said that some students that have reading, they're going to have, you might end up having teachers that have, 14 or 15 or 16 students in a class every day, right? Because they'll be in school every day. How will we manage that? So you said primary grade students in specific reading programs may be eligible for a 100% in-person program on both A and B days. So a teacher then potentially could have 15 or 16 students in their class if they have 5 students that are part of that reading program, no?
Well, what you do when you build your classes is you spread out your students. If there's 2 sections in a school, you wouldn't put 5 reading students in that class. You'd put 3 and 2. You'd space it out, so neither teacher is getting a large bump on any one day, or rather is spread out.
Okay.
Also, just to kind of comment on that as well, when you're talking about those populations that we're planning to possibly be in 5 days a week, those students often go out of the room for certain times, so I know that the principals have already looked to make sure that we can maintain social distancing and still keep the numbers relatively low in those rooms.
So that's another piece, right? Students going out of rooms and going to different places. So if students are going to be with other students, then you run a greater risk, right?
There's going to be some cohort mixing. I think it's inevitable. And in particular, Mac been in the high school, as students switch classes, they're not with their own kids, their own class all day. They do cohort mix every period at the secondary level. And you may see that at the elementary level, too. Some student is in a reading program, somebody's not, or 2 kids from 2 different classes go to meet with the reading teacher, and then they go back to their classes. So there will be some cohort mixing, and they'll be on the bus as well. So there's going to be cohort mixing on the bus, in the cafeteria. I think the American Association of Pediatrics put out a big white paper maybe a month ago or so, and it basically said, it's our bias to get kids back into school, and what our recommendations are, they don't eliminate risk, they just mitigate it. So what we're trying to do is mitigate risk to the greatest extent possible, and there are no guarantees. There's going to be cohort mixing. If you look outside the community, you see cohort mixing now, and kids ride their bikes together, they go to the lake together, they play baseball together, so there's always going to be some risk. We're just trying to eliminate the large amounts of risk. We're trying to cancel the assembly, we're trying to cancel back to school night, or make it virtual, this way you don't have a large number of people in a small confined space.
So you mentioned the cafeteria. Hey, you and I can't go sit inside a restaurant and eat. So in September, if we can't go sit inside a restaurant and eat, are we really going to allow our kids to do that?
So that's been my concern. I don't want to go backwards, but if you looked at April, May, and June, we had 10 different plans for graduation, and every time we got a new memo from the state, we had to rip up the old plan and come up with a new plan. It was somewhat frustrating, but it's just the time period we were in. So that's my concern too. This is indoor dining.
Yeah. Right.
They canceled indoor dining in New Jersey. They were supposed to open at the end of June. They said, we're going to postpone that. So if you can't eat in a restaurant that has, I don't know, a dozen tables, how can you eat in a lunchroom that has, whatever Mackin has?
Less than a dozen.
Right. So.
The problem is no mask. They're not gonna, if they're eating lunch, they're not gonna have masks on.
Right.
Lunch, that's the exception to the rule about wearing masks. So that's my concern about this plan. I have a hunch it's not going to be the plan we have in September. There could be an executive order from Trenton saying something entirely different. So it could be the plan as of today. And I think those different days, or the alternate plan or the other plan, if we let parents know now, they could have a better chance of arranging for daycare, whether it's Monday, Wednesday, every other Friday, or Monday, Tuesday. They could have work issues, they could have carpool issues, they could have daycare issues. Obviously, we're talking about the elementary parents, more than high school. But so if we can leave here with an idea what we want to do, it may change. It could change August 1st. But the indoor dining thing is something we're all talking about because it's the one glaring. It's just not fitting with everything the governor's saying. So I think there's a way to safely run sports, soccer, cross country, etc. I think we can do that. I don't know how we can eat in the cafeteria. So.
Well, that's the other piece, right? We can't, NJSIA says you can't have indoor sports.
Correct.
I don't think we can have our kids in the cafeteria. So thank you for that.
Kate, Courtney, then Terry.
With the half day for everyone, we would be able to really take out the lunch periods and send the kids home with a bag lunch or something like that. I mean, half day that allows us to not have to have lunch in the building, right?
Can you do that?
No.
We do have some students who would be receiving their meals in the building. It could be breakfast and lunch. We have students who do qualify for free meals every day. There's also a breakfast component too. I think people forget about that. I should have brought the number, but we gave out thousands of meals from March 13th to June 19th to our families in this community. And I know it's appreciated. It was a grab-and-go lunch, grab-and-go breakfast. But it's not just lunch period, it's breakfast and lunch. So students come in, they grab their breakfast, where do they go to eat?
Is it possible to do grab and go? Is it possible for the cafeterias to be set up to grab and go? In other words, that they get their lunch at the end of the day, take it home with them?
Well, the problem is whether there's anything in there that needs to be refrigerated.
Oh, okay.
And that's the concern. So shelf-stable meals are difficult to get. So once we have a plan, then the food service will create their plan to go around what needs to be done on their end.
Courtney, you did have something, then Terry, you did.
I did. I think, this is the point that I think we all know as a community, as a parent and a teacher myself, there is no good plan, right? I mean, we are living in a time that is really unstable and unnerving and scary. And I think our job as a board, our job as a community, is to support what the school is suggesting and being able to do our best to get through whatever that suggestion is. This plan is due to the commissioner in a week.
Yeah, I'm gonna send it down to the county office.
So we have things that we have to work through because of our government model. And I just really very much encourage everyone to support the school district and the community right now. This is unnerving. And these can change in an instant. I just wanted to say that.
Terry?
If a teacher is compromised and can't come back to school, you said that that teacher has to take a leave. Is that teacher going to lose days, sick days? Are we responsible for paying that? Does he still get paid?
If they have sick days, they would be paid sick days.
So he loses his sick days?
Yeah, you would have to use sick days for a family leave.
Okay.
There is a policy where.
But with the new policy that we all voted tonight, they get 10, right?
They get
So-
10 sick days, yeah.
There's a new policy on the
Yeah, I
agenda
know,
tonight, it's only a
but
first read.
I don't know.
That's the COVID policy you're talking about.
Okay.
Yes.
So this
Okay.
provides an extra 10 days for
All right.
staff members.
That was my question.
Plus
Okay.
the normal sick days they have. So the
Okay.
first 10 come out of this
Let's see.
family.
That's for self-quarantine.
If you're taking care of somebody, it also allows for people, if you're taking care of a relative, I believe.
Okay.
If you have to quarantine for that, or if you're taking care of
All right, but
somebody.
they are provided those 10 days.
10 days plus
Sick days.
your normal 10 sick days, plus whatever you have in the bank.
Ray?
Can I ask a question about those 10 days? So, right, obviously the state is doing a very good job with contact tracing. If a student is sick, right, and gets COVID, and the teacher has to go out because, right now, the class probably has to go out because that student was in contact with all of them. Does the teacher have to use days for that because we're requiring them to go out? They're not going out because they're sick, they're going out because the state is saying, you have to be out for 14 days.
I don't think that's what the contact tracing is doing. I think they're telling people that you may have come into contact with somebody who tested positive within 6 feet for, I think, 10 or more minutes. I think there's a cutoff they're using. So we're notifying the health department in West Milford. They would notify the contacts of those people. So the people who would be quarantining would then be, essentially, if you got a call, you would either get yourself tested or check yourself for symptoms. But absent symptoms, you would still be going into school.
Right, those who tested positive for COVID, the Department of Health would then give us they would then advise us as to what we have to then inform someone. But it's for people that test positive to COVID.
So I work in an environment where the Department of Health does exactly that. And I'm just saying, right, let's make sure we get it straight, because that's what happens where I work. So I just want to make sure before we go into this, we do get that straight, because we also have to have a contingency plan, because I'm sure there are probably some that may not want to substitute this year either.
We know there's going to be subs who stay on our list, but tell us, don't call us for 6 months. So I know that. We've heard from some of them already. That's why we've been recruiting for the past 8-9 weeks. Do we have enough? I don't know. And there's also a local decision. So the decision, if you rewind to last mid-March, the decision to close the schools was made by me, probably 4 or 5 days earlier than Governor Murphy made his call. So if it gets to a point in West Milford where it's no longer safe to have school, or we don't have enough staff members to open our buildings, or whatever, I could initialize a school closing, and we would shift to distance learning, the next day, or however long it is. So,
And we know cases between the ages of 5 and 18 are much smaller than other age groups. But if there's a student in the class that happens to test positive, is that whole class going to be notified based on the contact tracing?
well, we'll have to talk to the Department of Health.
We're still in the process, so the board tonight is approving nurses to work this summer, to continue with this planning, finish the training, come up with guidelines, and then we talked about bringing that to the committees in August, so that the board will then be aware of what came out of that, and I think some of the details that you're talking about do still need to be further addressed. Part of having those teacher focus groups that are on also the agenda from Mr. Novak, that's the purpose of approving those teachers, the nurses, the mental health providers, because this is the, structure of the plan, but there's still additional planning that has to go into place. I do just want to mention one thing, just so that the board is aware, that in the plans, if you go with the original option, which is the A, B, ABA, AB, ABB, students with disabilities do have access to their instruction 5 days a week, which gives us 2 full weeks. I will say the alternate option, and I feel like I wouldn't be the director of special services if I didn't advocate for students with disabilities, The alternate option, they will lose, in my mind, they will only have virtual instruction the one day a week, which is about 20% of their month on distance. And for the feedback from my extended school year, as hard as those teachers are working and trying with students with disabilities, I did walkthroughs today in every classroom again, virtual walkthroughs to see how it was going. I don't think anyone disagrees that students with disabilities have a very hard time on a distance platform. So I do just want to make sure that the board's aware of that as well, because obviously my role is director.
Thank you for saying.
Does anybody else have anything that they want to say? Kate?
Thank you. I think this is really extensive. There's a lot to, consider. I didn't know that we would be picking the plan. I thought we were going to be fully presented the plan, so I'm a little uncomfortable with the recommendation and the alternate option. I like them both. However, I know we were elected to, represent the community, but the community didn't know these things until right now, so it's hard to vote out which one. The only thing I think that this is missing really is a page of what distance learning will look like. And I would really like to see that. I do know what the summer reading program looks like. I think that is extremely successful. It's been incredible. I keep hearing about that and how that it's going to have some of those highlights. But I really think that the community needs to know that too, because every parent right now has the option, you said by August 15th, to let you know if their students are coming back or not. I know that distance learning is going to look different in September for many kids than it did in March, April, and May, and June. So I think we need to present that to the community in what the differences are going to be on paper.
That's a good suggestion, thank you.
Thank you. But thank you, Al. Very thorough.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say that in looking at both plans, for myself, I understand your point completely, Liz, but in looking at both plans, to me, the alternate plan is one that I think gives the most kind of continuity. I like the idea of students going 2 days in a row and then having virtual, because there's a way of it to flow for the teacher, and same way for the kids that are coming on Thursday and Friday, they can start that flow on the virtual day and be ready, and I think they get two really constants. Plus, I'm not a parent of a young child, but at least you have 2 full days. Because if your child goes in the morning, they're not doing the learning in the afternoon. So if you need someone to take care of your child, it's not like you have to expect them to do the distance learning with them in the afternoon. So and look, I know everybody has to work every day. I also know that as a school board, there's certain things we have to be concerned about, and I think our priority is health and safety of the students and the staff first, education, giving them what they need second, and then taking into account daycare, although we all need those things. But the health and safety and being able to get the kids to thrive a little in some kind of continuity, I think is important. I think what we did see in all the comments was the structure was lacking, attendance, and that kind of gives them that structure and the flow with their teacher every week. I like both schedules. I'm leaning more towards the AABB, that's myself. I like the day of Wednesday where it's a thorough cleaning day and parents can feel comfortable that their kids were in there for 2 days. Somebody came in and they did a very thorough cleaning, and now you have a new set of students and they're starting fresh. Everybody's getting that fresh start. And I do not at all think that this is not going to change before we reach September. I think we're going to be looking at something else come September. And I agree with Ray about the cafeteria. I'm very concerned about kids having to sit in the cafeteria. I don't want to see any kids sit in the classroom to eat. I think there's just so many different things. But I agree with that. And I understand how parents might feel like the full day. I think a full day for kids is a long time to be sitting in a class with a mask on and the restraints that I'm talking about elementary kids. I'm not really talking so much about the middle school and the high school, but I'm talking about elementary kids to be sitting in their classroom with certain restraints all day long. So I think the half a day is the answer for both the distance and that feeling of not being confined. I also was wondering, is there any way that we can do anything outside to start, like as far as the lunch stuff? Is there some way that, I don't know, could we do lunch outside with them? Because that seems
I
to...
put that in the plan. The principal is going to look into outdoor lunch if practical.
Yeah,
It's a little easier at Macapin. They have that breezeway where the kids, they've always eaten out there. The high school has some tables out back. There's always security issues when you bring kids outside, but we know that fresh air is better than indoors when it comes to spread of coronavirus.
I'm just thinking that we should utilize the outdoors if we can, while we can, because...
It's not going to be warm forever.
No, it's not. So, Nicole?
Thanks. I had my hand raised at first and you kept going and I was like, oh, I agree with her. So my point really is I'm supportive of the same plan for the same reasons. I think having that same group of kids thoroughly cleaning, keeps them safe. Makes a lot of sense doing it that way. I think it makes a lot more consistency versus, is this my Friday? Is that my Friday? So I agree with that plan for all those same reasons. I also just wanted to comment on what Courtney said. I really agree with her too. I think there's a lot of things we still don't know. There's probably still more questions and answers. And I would like to also have a better sense of what that distance learning will look like. I think there was a lot of inconsistency and we've heard a lot of that. And I do look forward to seeing how we make changes there. But overall, I think it's important for us to support the plan, knowing that there's still some things to work through. The only other question I realized we didn't really talk much about, we were kind of going down that path, is with, this is probably more at the secondary levels, when you think about gym class, well, even the younger kids with recess, what is that going to look like? I remember when my daughter, who will be a freshman, was going into 7th grade, and I had to yell at her every day, like, no, you cannot wear those black leggings in gym and not change them. And, they had 2 pairs of black leggings, and now we're saying you can't change. That's kind of gross. I think at that age, it's going to be tough for some of those kids on the hotter days being outside, not being able to change. I certainly understand it, but are we thinking any alternate options for things like that, or will they not be really running hard?
It's going to be more of, we have some light phys ed activities planned. Walking around the track maybe could be the phys ed workout for the day.
So like in middle school, for sure, I know, and I'm sure in the high school, they play sport. So how does the curriculum change if they're not learning the sport and being tested on it? You can't test them on walking around the track. Is it just book learning then on those sports? And
there'll be a semester of health, or a marking period of health, which will be in the classrooms.
Right.
The phys ed, I don't anticipate any book tests other than
No,
health.
but they get don't they have some tests on certain rules of games and things like that? Yeah. So
there was an executive order which requires masks outside when social distancing is not possible. So the phys ed activities we don't want kids in phys ed class with masks on outside. It would be unbearable. So there are some walking activities around the track where you could spread the children out. They could take their masks off and walk around the track without being in violation of the executive order, not getting too sweaty, considering they're not going to be changing. It's going to look a little different. Phys ed will be different.
And then also no activities then either, right? All the intramural kind of Macapin sports will all go away also?
As of now, it looks like Macapin will not be offering after-school activities, yeah.
Anyone else? Kate?
Going back, I guess, I heard Ray talk about the lesson planning of the teachers, and when you think about it, our staff is getting 3 lessons a day for every minute, and I'm concerned about the stress and overwork of our staff too, and we want their immune systems and their morale to be good and know that we support them and care about them. And so therefore, I want to bring up again PD for project-based learning, because if they were trained in this kind of thing, where it's lesson planning for long amounts of time, where they're all working on something and bringing in all the different curriculums so they don't feel overwhelmed. And I think a lot of that did happen in the spring. Some teachers were, rode the occasion and overdid it, and then you had a few that didn't do enough, and so I know that the new distance learning plan is going to equal that field and be very structured, but I would love for administration to talk about, and I know that you did already send something, I think, to the staff early on when this first started about PD. I would love for you to ask them again, because now we're in a different place than where we were in April, and we didn't do all the summer committees that we normally have, and so maybe a teacher is now watching this going, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to do 3 lesson plans for every class that I have. The kids that are staying home all the time, the B kids that I'm going to have to do in the afternoon, and the A kids that are in front of me. And that can be really overwhelming. So I want the administration to also just talk a lot about how to support our staff through this. And I think PD, maybe it's not just project-based learning. That's the one that I've experienced with that I know works for elementary and is amazing in high school too. Maybe there's something else new and better, that the staff knows of. So I just wanted to mention that.
I agree. I wish Mr. Novak was here, but I would really like to work further into that professional development, because we're like throwing the staff into a pool of water that they've never been in, really. I mean, yes, they rose to the occasion for those few months, but now we're talking about something that is going to be a little more, structured, a little more rigid, and I think every elementary school needs to be on the same, like everybody should be teaching the same thing at the same time, because we're a school district. We're not separate schools. We're a school district, and it's important that if somebody is learning something that they're getting the same, because we want to make sure of that. So I would like to hear more about the distance learning and about that kind of common plan from Mr. Novak at some point.
We'll get that done right away.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, well, we have no education report tonight, correct? Special reports, Mrs. Francisco?
The board minutes from June 23rd are available for your review and consideration.
Okay, I need a motion.
I'll move the minutes for the June 23rd workshop and executive session.
I need a second.
I'll second.
Any discussion on this? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, I'm not even gonna, you don't need a president's report tonight. Public comment. This portion of the meeting, I'm sorry. This portion of the meeting is open to members of the public for the purpose of addressing resolutions on the agenda only. Members of the public who have requested to speak prior to the meeting will be recognized by the chair first. Each speaker will be given 5 minutes for a period of 30 minutes, and then the time permitting. Other public comment limited to 5 minutes per speaker will be allowed until the 30-minute time period transpires. All members of the public speaking during this public comment period are asked to address topics listed in the agenda. All speakers are asked to sign the register, provide, and to give their full name, spell their last name, group affiliation if appropriate, and provide their address. Issues raised by members of the public may or may not be responded to by the board. All comments will be considered, and a response will be forthcoming if and when appropriate. The board asks that the members of the public be courteous and respectful of the rights of other individuals when speaking. Specifically, comments regarding students and employees of the board are discouraged, and the board and the administration will not respond to them. Students and employees have specific legal rights afforded to them by the laws of New Jersey. The board is not responsible and is not liable for any comments made by members of the public. Members of the public should consider their comments in the light of the legal rights of those affected or identified in their comments. Members of the public are reminded that they are legally responsible and liable for their comments. Is there anybody signed up to speak? Okay, is anybody signed up?
No.
Okay, yes, go ahead and just sign in. Oh, it's so hard to speak with this mask on. That was easier.
Yeah, hi, Gary Dan, 144 Ridge Road in New Jersey, West Milford. Before I start, I just wanted to mention that I think we have enough capacity, excess capacity in this town that we could spread the kids out and keep the full days and keep them in school. It's something we should look at. My daughter did the distance learning last year. She was generally done with her work an hour and a half into the day. It was way too easy. She got a fraction of what her learning should have been this year. Quite frankly, it was terrible. And it's cruel to do this to the kids again. We should be looking at the science of this and not making emotional reactions. For example, only the very old and those with severe comorbidities are at risk. The virus is actually attenuating right now. In New Jersey, there were 0 total fatalities from age 15 to 17, 0. This is from the New Jersey Department of Health. More kids died this year from the seasonal flu than this virus. CDC says 22 kids nationwide, 1 to 14, had fatalities and all had comorbidities. In 2009, when I had a toddler, H1N1 swine flu was out, killed 10,000 kids. Schools stayed open. I was concerned because it affected mostly kids. And there were 10,000 nationwide that died of this. The scientific studies that have come out recently, we've learned a lot recently. Kids are unlikely to catch it. If they do, they were most likely unaware they ever had it. Kids are unlikely to pass it on to other kids or adults. It's the adults that pass it on. Schools and society in Europe are open, they have been open, and they're not having increased fatalities. The case numbers are being exaggerated a little bit. If you look at it from a statistical point of view, we're doing testing now, a lot more testing. Of course we're going to get more. Back in March, we weren't doing testing. I'm sure there were way more cases than there are now. We just didn't know it, and we don't have proper data to make a decision on that. In the end of June, New Jersey started reporting probable cases as positive. Of course, we're going to see, because of that and more testing, of course we're going to see more cases. But the most important metric is fatalities, which is way, way down. And that's what we should be focusing on. Teachers are now essential workers. Our kids are essential also, and school is essential. My wife worked at she's an essential worker. She worked in a New Jersey hospital that was a hot spot. People went out and banged pots and pans supporting her. I'll gladly stand out on Ridge Road and bang pots and pans when the bus goes by and support the teachers, but we need to open the schools. We need to do this for the kids. I think that's about all I have here, but we do need to focus on what's really going on with the kids here. It was mentioned that they can't sit next to each other in the cafeteria. They can because the science out there says that it's not being transmitted between kids. So I think we should really look at this carefully and really consider opening the schools full-time and teaching our kids and taking care of our kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak?
My name is Stephanie Marquardt. My address is 486 Lakeshore Drive in Hewitt. I'm not going to get up here and debate about science because I think one thing that we have learned is that the science has changed on almost a daily basis. And I don't think we'll ever know the true science behind this for years to come. I just want to say thank you to all the board members and administration because you're put in a position to make a decision where there is no right decision and no one's going to be happy. I do have some questions. The plans set forth seem to punish the kids whose parents have decided that they don't feel comfortable with their kid returning to school in September. 90 minutes of distance learning is not acceptable. So as a parent, I would certainly hope that we would be able to do better to respect the wishes of the parents who have concerns and are choosing not to send their kids back in September. The next thing that I want to ask is that since we have to make a decision by August 15th whether our children will be distance learning 100%, if by October the state opens completely, we have indoor dining, the cases are still down, everybody's healthy, what will be the process for having our students come back to school? Will they be allowed to, or is there a certain time frame where they'll be expected to be out? Is it like an all or nothing thing? So just my questions, and again, I really do thank you and do not envy any of you for the position that you're all in.
Thank you.
Thank you. And just for the board's edification, we're not looking at a all or nothing. We just don't want parents to alternate weeks of I'm staying home this week, I'm coming in next week, I'm staying home. So if the medicine changes, if the data changes, if you selected all virtual option by August 15th, you'll start the year at all distance learning option. If the data changes by October 15th or November 15th or January 1st, we can certainly revisit that. We just want to avoid the day-to-day decisions where people change their mind on Tuesday, then on Thursday, then on Friday. That'll be hard to manage, so.
Good. That's a good answer. Anyone else? Yeah.
Hi, my name is Nikki Miller. I live at 92 Continental Road in West Milford. And first of all, thank you so much for all of the effort that's been put into this plan. I have a couple of questions. Not sure if it makes sense for me to just ask them and if you have answers, or ask them all at once. But I have a son who will be entering kindergarten this year, so I am obviously pretty concerned about what that's going to look like. I didn't have to go through the distance learning program in the spring, so I really had no idea what to expect. So if parents have some way of accessing the material or a plan ahead of time before we have to make this decision, that would be really helpful, especially for kindergarten, which I think is very heavily about socialization. And just wondering if there are some plans in place or ideas that the teachers have to still be able to incorporate that really critical aspect of socialization for kindergartners and for younger children who really that I feel is the main, I wouldn't say purpose, but one of the main purposes of school at that age. The second thing I have is a concern about my child keeping a mask on. Again, I know it's not a perfect system, but I'm not sure if there's any plans in place to really help encourage that. I mean, we've been practicing at home, but I guess there still is that concern, what happens when all of the kindergartners take their masks off. I've done a little bit of distance learning with my current preschool that he's at, and it was very, very difficult to get him to sit in front of a screen to learn. And so I guess I just wonder what flexibility is going to be given to parents for kindergartners who just don't have the attention span to sit in front of a screen and run off, and there's distractions. Parents are trying to work from home at the same time. I understand that school is not a daycare, but at the same time, how do I obviously it's my job to figure out with my employment how to make this work, but at the same time, is there going to be some flexibility for kindergarten parents or younger parents to be able to multitask and be able to essentially be the teacher for their child while they make them sit in front of the screen? Again, this is me not knowing what distant learning looks like. The other thing I was curious about is, I understand that we don't want parents flip-flopping by saying, okay, my kid is going to be all distance, or my kid is going to be in group A or B, but if we get sick or someone in the household gets sick, it's probably better for them to stay home. And is there a process in place where we can say, well, I don't want to send my kid for the next 2 weeks or the next 3 weeks, just for the safety of the other parents, I think, and kids, they would appreciate that. So what is the mechanism for parents and kids to be able to say, I want to switch to distance learning for the next 2 weeks. I know it's inconvenient, but I want to be able to keep everybody safe. And the last thing I wanted to say is, obviously knowing the plan in advance would be very helpful to be able to plan for being able to coordinate with employment on how to work from home and how to arrange for daycare. In my personal opinion, I really support the alternate plan, and only for the sake of, again, I'm looking at a kindergartner, and I find that consistency with them is very important, and to be able to go to school 2 days in a row and then have a day, the rest of the week home, for example, is just, I find like his mind and maybe other little children's mind, having a routine versus having to keep alternating days. You have days at home and days at school, they're a little bit more confused. And so I just find that the scheduling is a little bit more suitable for a younger child. But I do certainly want to accommodate for if you're special needs children. I do think that there is still a consistency aspect that would benefit them as well, not as an expert, but as someone who does have a child who has some special needs. Consistency tends to help, in my opinion. So those were just some of the questions I had, and just hoping that you could address some of them if you have the answers now.
All right, so we are, in fact, there's an agenda motion tonight to amend a resolution. We have something called the Kindergarten Summer Experience, where our kindergarten teachers and our families come in for information over the summer. Much of this information will go home on that day with our families. You're right, kindergarten will look a little different this year. It's a cozy group of teachers and a cozy group of kids, and they might not be able to be that cozy this year. So there will be some differences in the classroom. In terms of sick days, families will always call in when their child's sick, whether they're in school that day or on distance learning. If your child is sick, you call into school, you say, record my child is absent, and they record him or her as absent. So that's a little different. It's a different issue with staff than it is for a student. So parents can always call their child in sick, regardless of the circumstance. If they're ill, they stay home. Call us up to let us know, so we know that every child is accounted for. Obviously, the secretaries will be in, the principals will be in. They'll be able to follow up with people. If we have 300 students in the school and 297 are accounted for, we have to call those 3 households to see, where is your child today? And the parent says, oh, he's sick, he's at home. We enter him as sick. We just want to make sure that they're accounted for every day.
The mask, is there going to be flexibility with the masking for the kindergartners? Is that was
I don't believe, I think the masks are mandatory.
Okay.
I mean, it's for everybody's safety. It's there are ways to build mask durability, perhaps over the summer months, practice wearing masks. It doesn't have to be a medical mask. It can be those gaiters that some of the kids like. The PTAs are going to be coming out with some fundraisers for some cooler gaiters, camo, school colors, things like that. So there's ways for children to wear a mask that isn't quite as uncomfortable as an N95, perhaps.
Okay. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Hello, my name is Tara Ricano. I live at 116 Green Terrace Way. I just wanted to actually applaud our district for how they did handle distance learning. I have friends and family in other districts throughout the state who were looking at what my kids were doing and were thoroughly impressed and quite frankly embarrassed at what their kids were doing.
That said, Terry, I think you mentioned that there might be some teachers who are reluctant to come back. And I was thinking while I was sitting there, what if these teachers became our distance learning teachers? You know, what if we had that group of kids working with that teacher who's immunocompromised or just nervous, you know? That might be a good idea. And then second of all, and probably the last thing we're all worried about, we're wondering about the specials for elementary school kids. How will they get art, music, that kind of a thing? That was all.
Thank you. How they doing the art and music?
So we're still looking to finalize our special schedules for the fall. If you do, the specials rotate by the week, so if you're art on Monday and you're not in school on Monday, you would miss art every week. So we have to have somewhat of a rotating schedule where you miss your specials the days you're not in school, of course, but you would have to rotate the other specials through so that you don't always get music on Mondays but never art on Friday. So it would have to be a rotating. There would also be a virtual component to those subjects as well, a little bit more this year than last.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
Seeing none, I make a motion to close public comment.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Time to move the agenda.
Okay, just one edit. We have one addition on Personnel Student Affairs, Resolution Number 16. It is page 7, Personnel and Student Affairs, number 16. We have if you notice on the hand carry, we have a recommendation to transfer one teacher from special education to kindergarten, Melissa Berg. So along with that, I'd like to add her name to the list of teachers coming in for the kindergarten summer experience at Marshall Hill. So it's Melissa Berg, B-E-R-G-H, and it's the same person that's on hand carry number 18. We have a resignation at Marshall Hill Kindergarten, so this is the recommended replacement.
All right.
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda as presented with the one adding Milford to.
I'll second that.
Dave? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, personnel, I think that first item on personnel, Nicole, you guys, they need an executive session for that or no?
No, this
Do we
is
need
the
public-
public hearing on the
Yeah.
superintendent's contract. The contract for the 2021 school, 2020 to 2025 school year is going to rescind the 5th year of Dr. Anamone's current contract and create a new 5-year contract beginning as of retroactive to July 1, 2020, and continuing to June 30th of 2025. And this is the opportunity that any members of the public have to comment specifically on this subject, which is the rescission of the 5th year of Dr. Anamone's contract and the approval of a new contract for a 5-year period.
So we're opening it up to the public. So
Right.
if anyone wishes to comment on the
So if anyone
contract.
wishes to comment, this is your opportunity.
Okay. No one?
Seeing
Can I have resolution to close public comment?
I'll make a motion to close public comment.
I'll second.
All those, is that a voice vote or
Yeah.
it's going to be a voice vote?
I can't hear.
Sorry.
Are you ready?
Yeah, Dr., Mrs. Fritz can
The
then
voice vote, or
move.
no, to close public comment?
We did.
Oh, we did? Okay. I missed it, okay.
I don't believe anybody opposed it.
Right, okay. All right, Nicole, you're on the air. Can you hear me?
I can now, yes, thank
Okay,
you.
sorry about that.
That's okay. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to move item number 1 under Personnel and Student Affairs.
Make the motion.
Second that, Jason? Okay, any discussion? Nicole?
Just really to reiterate my appreciation for all the work that Dr. Anamone has done for the board and the community. I definitely appreciate his commitment and diplomacy and tact and professionalism and how he's, before the pandemic, handled the district. I think he's really moved us to the right direction. There's still lots of work to do and lots of challenges ahead, but I think as a parent of 2 kids going into 7th and 9th, the continuity has been a breath of fresh air, and I think something that our district has really needed, and it's really evident in the direction that we're moving, so thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Dave?
Yeah, I'm in favor of this, too. I think Dr. Anamone's done a great job. I think the continuity he would bring to the district, having been in town for 34 years now and seeing all kinds of superintendents, he's about the best, and seeing them come and go, I think we can really use a continuity in the district of this contract.
Okay. Anyone? Okay. So if not, then let's roll call.
Mrs. Fritz?
Yes.
Mr. Stillman?
Yes.
Mr. Ovchinsky?
Yes.
Mr. Conklin?
Yes.
Mrs. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mrs. Stevenson? Mrs. Romeo? Mr. Guarino?
Abstain.
Mrs. Van Dyke?
Abstain.
Motion carries.
Just want to, I said it before, I'll say it again, thank you to the board members for showing your support. It's an honor and a privilege to work here. It's an honor and a privilege. It's something I don't take for granted, and I look forward to leading the district for the next 5 years and working with you all. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nicole?
Alrighty. So I would now like to move items number 2 through 17 and the hand carries 18 and 19.
Okay, any discussion? Does anyone have any questions on the agenda?
Thank you to Ms. Poplawski.
Oh,
And
yes.
congratulations on her retirement.
But it's not till December, it's not till
Correct.
January, right? So, I need a second, I'm sorry. Kate. It's very hard to hear. Anyone else, any discussion? Okay, if not, roll call. That's with the hand carry included, Barb.
Ray has a question.
Ray, you have a question?
17 and then the hand carries.
So 17, the hand carry. So I just wanted to say on number 13, I gotta say, I think that the majority
Yes, I think.
I've heard people that have kids that graduated and people that have kids that are going to graduate say, wish they would do that every year. So congratulations to Joe, the school system, and I was here earlier, but trans for all of it. It really worked out well. So congratulations to all those folks at high school.
It was a great video. It really was.
awesome.
I hope everybody got to see that, and honestly, if... Yeah, I
There was 2.
Right, you're right.
There was
I
high
would-
school and Macapin.
If I could say, I would have loved to have had a graduation that was that much fun. So,
I have a question.
yes, absolutely, yes.
I'd just like to recognize Donna Poplawski, who will be retiring at the end of the school year, at the end of the calendar year, December 31st. Donna has been the administrative assistant in the education office since I started 10 years ago. She worked at Apshua School prior to that, and She has been an asset, a real team player, and she will be missed. And I wish her a lot of luck in her retirement.
We will have to remember before the end of the year to be able to speak about it again, because it's not till January. Kate, go ahead, did you have something?
Number 19, unnamed Terry, there's a note pending enrollment. Can you explain that?
Yes, so basically the plan for these mental health and wellness groups that are going to be presented out to the public in the school district will have an option for parents to enroll a student into the group and/or it being the students that are at risk coming in. So if there are no students in a particular group, whether that be, let's say, a grief group or a group for school anxiety coming back into the building, if there happens to be no students in the group will not run. But there will be an offering out to parents that will explain all the different groups and the levels and things like that, but the parent can then choose to send their students in.
Any other discussion? Right, yeah, yeah, I have that. Okay. Roll call then?
Yes.
Mrs. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Guarino?
Yes.
Mr. Ovchinsky?
Yes.
Mrs. Romeo?
Yes.
Mr. Conklin? Mrs. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Stillman?
Yes.
Mrs. Van Dyke?
Yes. Education,
I'd like to move items 1 through 12 for approval,
Second.
yeah,
and 13 will be after executive session.
right, okay. Who seconded that?
I did, I think.
Nicole?
So just for,
Wait a second.
Vote on 1 first.
yeah, so number 1, I think is a separate
That's
vote.
the
we have.
HIB. No, that's the, yeah, it needs to be separate, Terry, because that's the plan.
Yeah, so the
that's right. I'm sorry.
the feedback I'm getting from the board is they would prefer the alternate plan, which would be Monday, Tuesday, distance learning on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That's the feedback I'm sensing from the board.
Yeah,
Okay.
So are we voting on the first plan, or we?
The alternate plan, I could submit to the county tomorrow.
We're discussing it right now.
Okay.
So is there any discussion on Plan B, the alternate plan? Go ahead, Courtney.
So the AA, distance learning day, BB plan, would not be the best plan for special ed students. I'm wondering is there a way those children can be in school 5 days a week?
If they could, is there a way to accommodate them on the Wednesday?
Rather than doing the distance learning day at all. I'm trying to just do the numbers in my head, but you're probably talking about, because the original plan, which was, collectively kind of developed and created, had in mind that students preschool to grade 5, including resource room kids, self-contained students in our preschools, would attend 5 days a week. Early dismissal days, distance learning and virtual students would receive a hybrid. So the other option, and you would also have all the self-contained, your autism program, your locally disabled, your learning and language disabilities programs, grades 6 through 12 and 21 would also be in 5 days a week. So you're probably talking about 80 students in self-contained classrooms and roughly probably another 100 or 150 additional students to that. So for them to still be in the schools and using all the facilities, you wouldn't be able to do the cleaning and then,
Oh, okay.
like and plus then the teacher would have to still be doing the virtual piece. So then I feel like it wouldn't be considered equitable because the students that are on full, like having the original alternate plan would have more access to that plan versus students with disabilities. So I couldn't make it funny.
So are you saying we can't do that plan?
I can't do the alternate plan and bring in students 5 days a week.
So it sounds like everybody would be, all the students would be home on Wednesday.
Okay.
So can I just need the first plan?
Yeah.
Right, and it is a board decision, and that's why I'm putting it out there. The only reason why I feel like I have to represent is we did have CPAC meetings once a month, and it did come in to keep students with disabilities in as often as we can. So I know I have Mrs. Lockwood, my chair there, so I need to make sure that I just express that to the board, just so you make an informed, decision.
Liz, I'm confused. So if we went with the alternate option, your self-contained students and another 100 and something other students would come in 4 days a week, not 5.
Correct.
But if you did the A, they would be there 5 days a week.
Correct.
That's for the wrench.
Regardless of the situation, as I said before, no plan is a good plan.
Right.
Parents are going to be struggling to get childcare for their elementary children, whether they're doing AD or AAD. We have to think of the special ed population. They got a very, very bad hand from distance learning. They cannot do distance learning. It's really not an option.
So, Alex,
Wait, Terry had a question, then I'll come to you, right? Go ahead.
which of the two plans do you recommend?
It's a tough one. They both have their pluses and their minuses. It's very difficult to,
Make a decision?
yeah, it's tough. There's pluses to doing it either way. The minus is, we're going to have a good plan coming back regardless of whether it's 4 days, so to speak, or 5 days. Some work for some families better. I've heard from families they want the every day. I've heard from other families they want, they want an alternating day, 2 days a week. So it's really difficult. I'd probably recommend the first plan, which includes the Fridays.
Okay.
But, again.
That would benefit our special ed too. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Ray?
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that when you gave us that return to normalcy document, did that go through to the end of the year or a specific?
I scheduled the days until the end of 2020 calendar.
So,
This could go on more, it could go on less.
so you're talking roughly 4 months, right?
4 months to start.
And there were 6 Fridays built into that plan, where those particular Fridays were all distance learning, right?
Right.
So the special ed students wouldn't be in school on those Fridays?
Correct. It's not a whole heck of a lot of difference, if you count the days.
Right. So we're talking about 6, so really we're talking probably about 10 Fridays, that they would, or 10 extra days they would be in school. It's about what would be.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing I do.
Maybe not even, because you have the teachers' convention, you're closed, you have Thanksgiving weekend, you lose a couple Fridays then anyway.
They could still receive their telehealth compensatory therapy services on the distance days.
So they could be serviced on the Wednesdays?
They couldn't compensatory means service is lost by time based on distance plans. So if the New Jersey Department of Ed put something out to special education, educators and districts and parents, communities and parent right groups to let them know that every district has to assess every student for what was lost during the times of school closures and or distance learning. So they're eligible for what's called compensatory services. So we'll be assessing those students for what they lost in the last year and giving maybe if somebody gets 2 times a week of speech therapy, they might get a 3rd session. So we wouldn't want the primary sessions to be via telehealth.
Right.
We could offer compensatory additional services. Parent brings a child in, let them have therapy, things like that.
Okay. Courtney?
2 things really quick. Just being a teacher who works with special ed children, going back and forth, being in Monday, Tuesday, home, going back Thursday, Friday, could be an issue. Could be a whole getting them reacclimated. It could take away. I just want to throw that in there, that the consistency would be better. And from what I remember in education committee, those 6 days for distance learning were for teachers to have professional development, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Professional development, lesson planning time.
Right.
I just wanted to clarify that.
So are you recommending the original schedule, not the alternate?
That's what I'd recommend, but, obviously the board should have its,
Okay.
the board should have its say, so.
So when we vote on it, or are we voting on what schedule we prefer?
I would think so, yeah.
All right, but we're not voting on the motion. I think this is a motion, this is kind of like just a table, like just to see where we're polling, we're not voting.
We're voting, right? We are voting.
Well, because he has he's saying two different things. I mean,
I have an open motion, so,
well then, so the motion is for the first schedule.
Correct.
All right, so then I guess we can discuss it if somebody, Nicole, you added something, and then Kate.
So. The alternate schedule, I think there's a little more consistency when we consider everything, to the point of kids being, special kids being there 2 days and not in 2 days. Either way, there's going to be consistency for them, because then it would be in, then they would be there.
But straight through, yes.
Okay. I was a little confused on that, but I still think that makes the most sense. I think it's a little more cohesive for planning purposes for parents, and kind of makes it a little bit more structured.
All right. So then you would vote no on this plan, then we could redo the motion?
Right, that's what we have to do.
So there's no worries with that, we'll get this done either way.
And we're going to probably redo it again. Kate?
Alex, 2 questions. The first is, when is this due to the county?
I think it's 4 weeks before the start of school, but it would be way before our next board meeting.
Before our next board?
Yeah, I'm going to have it down there by the end of the month, probably this week.
And I don't know if you know what other districts are submitting, but is it true that we can submit both?
That's good.
It's my understanding that we can submit both and possibly poll the community and even see what the county says about both plans, along with our third plan, which is our distance learning plan, our full distance learning plan. So I'm not sure if I'm correct or not, but how I understood everything that I read was that districts were submitting more than one plan to see what was best, but maybe that's not the direction you've been given.
That's not what I've heard in Passaic County. It could be different in other counties. Oftentimes it is. My guess is they'll approve either plan. They're probably going to edit and revise some of the finer points, I think, but that might be like some very minor details. They'd want another paragraph about something, but I would think either plan would meet the county's approval. They may just tell us to pick a plan. In fact, I think that's probably what they'll do. If they're both approved, we'd have to decide anyway.
Well, I was just thinking if they both got approved and we were able to poll the parents in the community to see what worked with their schedules, I would feel more comfortable voting on a plan that was better for the majority of the community, rather than me sitting here and thinking about what's working for me, my neighborhood, my family, and my friends. I don't feel fair with that.
Well, I think, what I would say is one of my concerns is what Liz is saying about special ed. I think that has to be, that has to be more of a driving factor than polling, because,
I agree, Linda, but what we don't know right now, and I don't think Liz knows, is how many of those special education parents might choose to leave their kids home right now for distance learning because they are medically fragile. Or how many of them we don't know what everyone is planning for September. Most of us don't even know what we're planning ourselves for September. So it's really hard to, we might find that 81, there's 81 students, I just looked at the number, at least there was last year, 81 self-contained special education students. If we find that 40% of them or 50% of them are staying home and we're basing our decision on that, we might be basing our decision on the students whose parents decide to keep them home.
I've heard from our self-contained families, and I know of one student right now that has informed me that they need a virtual option.
Okay.
So we have kind of put that out, especially self-contained. I'm pretty confident that those students will be in. I think the part that may be more a variable that I can't answer confidently is the resource students, because some of those parents may choose to keep their students on distance learning. Okay. But the general consensus from our CPAC meetings has been the self-contained students, the students with autism, the students with multiple disabilities, they need the consistency, because as you know, distance is just not working. They don't have the aid there to prompt and things like that.
Ray,
So
then Courtney.
I understand we're talking about those 80 students that Kate mentioned earlier. But our school district has 3,200 students, and I know the importance of special education and helping kids with autism, but essentially we're talking about 3 to 5% of the students, right? And we have to think about 100% of the students. So that's the balance. So I kind of feel that the alternate plan makes more sense. I like the deep planning aspect midway through the week. And A stay together, B stay together.
All right.
Courtney.
This is not just about our self-contained students, though. These are children who are in resource room. This is those teachers who are in the resource room. This is the inclusion students. This is a much larger percent than just your self-contained and your autistic children. I am passionate about special ed, and I fully support AB, not only for the children, but for those teachers who are trying to reach those children through the screen. It is impossible.
Anybody else? All right, so when, we can do roll call and take it from that point on. We're putting forth the plan that you've put forth, not the alternate plan.
Correct.
Okay? So you're voting on the original plan, not the alternate.
The original plan.
Essentially, if it's easier to understand, it'll be the plan that's here. The written plan would be here. So this is what we'll be voting on right here, and then if that doesn't pass, we can resubmit it.
This is the recommended plan, the first one, not the option, correct? Okay.
If it doesn't pass, then we can run it through the other plan. Yes. Go ahead.
Am I able to make a motion to bring this to executive committee? Executive session, sorry.
Okay, Ray,
I don't think it's executive.
I don't know if
You're
it's,
asking us about 2 plans.
This doesn't fall into an exception for executive session, it's got to be done publicly.
So you're asking us for 2 plans. You're telling us to vote on the original plan, but you threw another plan at us tonight.
Okay.
Can't have it in executive session.
no, it's not
That's
executive.
the board might prefer.
Right, and that's understandable. You know, we went through a lot of plans on Tuesday night. So, you know, this was, I wanted to present one plan here, but I wanted to give the board another option, another way to get this task accomplished.
We knew there was going to be discussion about the plan itself, or there could be motions to amend the plan from what was there, and that's what happened. No.
You can't just throw the plan at us now, right?
Wait,
Some of us like
I have an
it
idea.
better. I'm just going to say, if I vote no on your original plan,
That's fine.
then, but I don't want to vote no on any plan. I kind of follow the lines almost here.
Terry has a
It should be in school.
I'm coming to.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have a plan tonight. It's going to be, you know, one or the other, hopefully. So,
Terry.
Okay, Andy, can we divide this into 2 motions to approve either, you know, to do one for, a motion for option 1, and then a motion for option 2, and then the motion that passes goes?
That's essentially what you're doing, you're voting on the one that fails.
Yeah, then you by default, yeah.
Okay, but we're only voting on option 1.
Yeah, but if that fails, then we go to...
Okay.
Kate.
Could I already said this, but could I make a motion to submit both plans to the county and get feedback back from the county superintendent?
Are you comfortable with that?
I don't know the feedback I'm going to get is going to be, I think they just want to make sure our plan is compliant with whatever directives they've been giving. Ultimately, we're going to have to pick a plan, and we're going to have to get it at the parents. The sooner we do it, the better. I think it's easier for them.
I mean, doing that would give us more time to think about this, would give us the opportunity to survey the community, would see if the county does approve both plans. I mean, does anyone else think that that is a good idea or no?
No.
Okay, now let it go.
Well, I'm going to say something, because the problem with that is that they have to have a plan in place by August 15th. When do they?
I think it's 4 weeks before the start of school, which this year is September 1, so I'm using July 31 as a deadline. which means I have to get the plan to the county before then, give them, they might be out of work for a few days, so I want to give them as much chance to approve it, and then our principals can work on, they really can work on their A-day and B-day lists and communicate that out to the parents. So I'm hoping by August 1, we have something approved by the county, and every family knows which days they're attending school from September 1 to December 23rd.
And the problem being, we don't have another meeting
Right.
before we would have to submit that because it's next week. So I think we have to come up, I hate that it's becoming this because I have a feeling it's going to be for nothing anyway and that we're doing this.
Yeah.
But
This is the only board meeting between getting the memo from the state and
Right.
due to the state.
because it's not till August.
Right.
Courtney, then Nicole.
I heard Terry ask Dr. Adamone, which plan do you suggest us to, and you did say the original ABA. And to go back to what I originally said, it is our job as a community to support Dr. Adamone and the work that he has done already, and Dr. Quaid, to support their decision and what they feel is best for this community.
Nicole.
I feel like it's putting us in a very uncomfortable position. I really do, because to your point, Dr. Anamone clearly felt this other plan had some merit. And to Kate's point, I think and I wasn't involved in them, but I think the purpose of the restart committees was to get the feedback. We did the surveys about distance learning, so I think all of that went into the formulation. So I think going back to the community, not only not having time would be a redundancy at this point, a little bit. And yes, the alternate plan may not work great for one cohort, but, and I'm not insensitive to that, I really am not. I understand that there's nothing great about this for any student, but for all 3,000 of our kids, they all lose something in either one of these plans. They see socially only half of their friends. They don't get to participate in all the things that make school amazing. They don't get to, fully, be with their teachers, see their expressions. I mean, there's so many things that, we could go down a rabbit hole and talk about. I think it's unfortunate because I feel like it puts us in a little bit of a divided situation, but we have to make a recommendation, and I think we all just have to go with our gut on this one and see what feels right. But I don't feel that it's fair to say, well, that's the only one he's recommending. I think he did say that that's a preference, but both of them, I think, have merit, otherwise he probably wouldn't have put them forward.
They're both very workable plans, and we'll get it done.
I guess my question to you, Liz, is do you think that we can provide services on that day?
I think you're going to, listen, my role here is serving as Director of Special Services, right?
Right.
So, yes, do I have a kindergartner going to kindergarten? Yeah. So do I put my mommy hat on as well? Of course. But I have to look at what's best for the students with special needs. That's all the students with special needs. And what I can tell you is there is a benefit to those students being in the extra day. Even if it's 16 extra days, it's still 16 extra face-to-face days. And as the advocate of all the parents and the representative of them for the past years I've been here, I can tell you and I can assure you that the majority of parents that have students with significant disabilities or learning disabilities, they have been struggling.
Right.
If I didn't say that out loud to everybody, they've been struggling. So when my mommy hat is on, I may think either plan is okay. But when my Director of Special Services hat is on, for students with special needs, the first original plan, which was thought out for the committees, is the best option. Because I can only then serve, because Wednesdays then are going to be virtual, and we're going to be then serving compensatory on top of compensatory. So I'm going to deal with compensatory on the virtual days, which we planned for what they lost in the spring. And then I'm also going to have to consider compensatory for the Wednesdays because they're going to be on virtual. So special services is obviously multifaceted. So it's not something I can it's not a one-size-fits-all. Now, do I think I will do my best, and you guys know as a board that I will do my best to make the second plan work? Absolutely. We will strengthen our distance learning, and we will do the best we can. But the reality is that students with special needs do better in school, not out of school.
Okay, anything else? Kate?
Was the WMEA presented with either of these plans before tonight? If so, the real question is, did they weigh in on an option that worked best for most of their people? Because, yeah, we do, we have 3,000 and, almost 4,000 students, but we have a lot of employees too who need to worry about their own childcare. And like I said before, so we're looking at an entire community. And I do agree, Nicole's right. Should we be making a decision just based on 80 students or the entire community? So I'm curious if the WNEI has weighed in on which plan they like best.
Well, we didn't present it like that, but we do have discussions with various stakeholder groups, including the WMEA, as part of the Restart Committee and also some private meetings.
We have to vote on a plan no matter what. So if you have to vote however you feel, but we have to vote because it has to be done tonight.
No win.
So, any other discussion?
Well, I'm willing to vote on a plan, but I would like to see, as Kate said, I would like to see the staff support for this or staff input. And I have a feeling there hasn't been much. So I'll vote, we can vote and then maybe it can be tweaked after Alex presents it to the staff.
Is that work? Can it be tweaked?
No, it can be tweaked.
Okay, then that's what we need to do. If not, roll call. No? Come on, because we've talked it. Roll call.
Okay. Mrs. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Guarino?
No.
Mrs. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Stillman?
No.
Mr. Ovshinsky?
No.
Mrs. Romeo?
Yes.
Mr. Conklin?
No.
Mrs. Fritz?
No.
Mrs. Van Dyke?
No.
Motion fails.
So now we have to vote on Plan B.
Correct. Correct.
So we need a motion.
So this will be the alternate plan, which is going to be half the students Monday, Tuesday, half Thursday, Friday, Wednesday distance learning day.
Make a motion to vote on the alternate plan as presented in Dr. Emerald's presentation.
Second.
Jason seconded, Ray moved it. Discussion. Anyone? Roll call on Plan B.
Mr. Conklin?
Yes.
Mrs. Dwyer?
No.
Mrs. Fritz?
Yes.
Mr. Guarino?
Yes.
Mr. Ovshinsky?
Yes.
Mrs. Romeo?
We have to be, yes.
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 Mrs. Stevenson?
No.
Mr. Stillman?
Yes.
Mrs. Van Dyke?
Yes.
Motion carries. We'll move forward with that plan. I'll get something out to the school community tomorrow. And thank you all. I know it's not easy, but it's
It wasn't easy.
it's a lot to accomplish. And I know we did accomplish it. We'll get this out to the community and next steps moving forward. We've got a lot of work left to do.
One thing I would like, Liz, is I would like you at the next Education Committee meeting that we have something laid out and how we're going to address this and the numbers so that we know that.
So I'll know the numbers, but I don't know exactly when our committee is, but by August 15th, when everybody tells us what the plan is, parent-wise. But what I can say is that I do have to submit the plan for special needs also with this plan, with whatever we decided. So I'll then craft the plan that has to go out to the county, this week or next week.
Okay, thank you.
Clear your schedule.
Terry, the rest of the motion?
Items 2 through 12 for approval.
Okay.
Second?
I need a second.
Second.
Ray? Any questions on the items? No discussion? Okay.
Mrs. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Guarino?
Educational.
Yes to all, and then abstain.
Mrs. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Stillman?
Yes.
Mr. Ovchinsky?
Yes.
Mrs. Romeo?
Yes.
Mr. Conklin?
Yes.
Mrs. Fritz?
Yes.
Mrs. Van Dyke?
Yes. Okay, number 13 we'll come back to. Operations and Finance, Mr. Guarino.
Yeah, so, we have a motion. Move items 1 through 15.
I'll second that.
Okay, so Dave, second that, Barbara. Discussion?
Yes, I second.
I just want to say, I see on item 12 and 13, the donations of the GoPro and the Clear Touch board from the PTA and Maple Road, and the GoPro came from an equipment grant that through the Passaic County Film Commission, which Joe Jordan was responsible for. I want to say thank you for that. That's, much appreciated. And then the donation also on the banners and that from the janitorial company. So, any other discussion? If not, roll call.
Mr. Guarino?
Yes.
Mrs. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Ovchinsky?
Yes.
Mrs. Fritz?
Yes.
Mr. Stillman?
Yes.
Mrs. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mrs. Romeo?
Yes.
Mr. Conklin?
Yes.
Mrs. Van Dyke?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to move item 16.
I'll second that.
Okay, discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Guarino?
Yes.
Mr. Stillman?
Yes.
Mrs. Stevenson? Mrs. Fritz?
Yes.
Mr. Ovchinsky?
Yes.
Mrs. Romeo?
Yes.
Mrs. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Conklin?
Yes.
Mrs. Van Dyke?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to move item 17.
I'll second that.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Guarino?
Yes.
Mr. Ovchinsky?
Yes.
Mrs. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mrs. Fritz?
Yes.
Mr. Stillman?
Yes.
Mrs. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mrs. Romeo?
Yes.
Mr. Conklin?
Yes.
Mrs. Van Dyke?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to move item 18.
I'll second that.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Guarino?
Abstain.
Mrs. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Ovchinsky?
Yes.
Mrs. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Stillman?
Yes.
Mrs. Fritz?
Yes.
Mr. Conklin?
Yes.
Mrs. Romeo? Mrs. Van Dyke?
Abstain.
I'd like to make a motion to move item 19.
I'll second that.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Guarino?
Yes.
Mr. Stillman?
Yes.
Mrs. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mrs. Fritz?
Yes.
Mr. Ovchinsky?
Yes.
Mrs. Romeo?
Yes.
Mrs. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Conklin?
Yes.
Mrs. Van Dyke?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to move item 20.
I'll
Second.
second that.
Okay. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Guarino?
Yes.
Mr. Ovchinsky?
Yes.
Mrs. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mrs. Fritz?
Yes.
Mr. Stillman?
Yes.
Mrs. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mrs. Romeo?
Yes.
Mr. Conklin?
Yes.
Mrs. Van Dyke?
Yes. Thank you. Kate? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Ready?
Yes? We need a
Just move 1 through 30 under policy.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion? I just want to make note that it is the second reading for 1 through 13. and that 14 starts where the new policy is on the COVID. And I, want to let everybody know that. And that also, on the motion for number 25, on that regulation for the opioid antidote, I want to just note that we were going to bring it down to Macapin level. It was at the high school, and we updated that because I know that some people had questions about that one. So, if not, anybody else discussion? If not, roll call.
Mrs. Romeo?
Yes.
Mrs. Fritz?
Yes.
Mrs. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Oshinsky?
Yes.
Mr. Stillman?
Yes.
Mr. Conklin?
Yes.
Mr. Guarino?
Yes.
Mrs. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mrs. Van Dyke?
Yes. Committees, I don't know, Parks and Rec, are they able to, they're not doing anything. Safety, we haven't had anything. Superintendent Roundtable, we did have that Zoom, did we meet?
We had a Zoom.
It was,
No, we haven't.
no, we didn't have that Zoom meeting?
We had it in June.
I thought that was after this meeting, I wasn't sure. Okay. Passaic County, I have not done the Zoom meeting on that. New Jersey School Boards, neither. Legislative, is there anything, Dave?
No, not tonight.
Technology oversight, Mr. Guarino.
Yeah, so, maybe last Friday, a couple quick updates. We did complete the schedule of adding cameras to Macapin. We also have a bunch of new Chromebooks. So I think we saw earlier, it said earlier, I think the presentation Dr. Animo gave, we'll have a one-to-one for grades 6 through 12. And then all the grade school grades, they will have Chromebooks also in their classroom one-to-one, so it minimizes Chromebooks going back and forth and other students touching Chromebooks. So because we have all these Chromebooks where we can have every student in the district have a Chromebook, and the idea is originally the 6th grade was going to be a brand new Chromebook, and that's how it is now, and the 9th grade, they're going to get new Chromebooks. And so 9th grade, they're going to carry that with them through high school. I talked to the tech committee and I asked if it made sense that maybe the 5th grader got a brand new Chromebook and they carried it from grade 5 to grade 9. So I don't know if something has to be done to make a motion to change that, or if that can just be done.
We could just handle that internally. It would be 5 to 8.
5 to 8.
And then 9 to 12.
9 to 12. So 5 to 8, brand new Chromebook, 9 to 12, brand new Chromebook.
So that they get 2 Chromebooks, one in 5th grade, use it for 4 years, one in 9th grade, use it for 4 years.
Oh, and that's their life expectancy, correct?
That's the outer limit of the life expectancy.
The other thing that I thought was good that we spoke about was we know that some parents and students, teachers, they had tech issues. I know I was talking about Zoom, right? That'll be fixed because we're just going to use Google Meet. But when there are tech issues with the distance learning, I've received many questions about, can we get a tech hotline? So I know that sometimes teachers were trying to help. Sometimes there were parents that were a little more tech savvy. They were trying to help other parents. And if every student is going to have these Chromebooks, maybe we can be consistent in them using those Chromebooks, even when they're doing distance learning. And Robert talked about the idea of there possibly being the thought of being able to use a tech hotline, maybe even using some of the high school students, right? It becomes a little integrated into one of their classes. So that's something to look for maybe in the future.
That makes sense, especially with what we just went through with the distance learning, because I'm sure there were people who were,
And now, do you want to talk about the ClassLink?
Yeah, so ClassLink it's a single sign-on. I mean, I'm sure you deal with it in your own lives. What's my username? What's my password? And ClassLink essentially is a single sign-on for students. So once they sign in once, they'll have access to their Google Classroom, which is obviously the Google Meet. any other software that we use, that the teachers are using, whether it be Pear Deck, Screencastify, any of the software, they would sign in once, and that would be the splash page, and you would be logged into all of your accounts through ClassLink. So that's going to be up and running for September, so we think it's going to take some of the logistical problems we had last spring and remove them for our students. So it should be easy for our teachers to not have to constantly tell children what their password is, and it should be easier for parents and students as well. So all kids will have access to that.
So that's a huge benefit, and that's kind of where we ended it. So thanks.
Thank you. The township, we haven't had any meetings. I think the mayor's been, well, they're not, the office is not even open in the town hall, but they haven't said anything, right? We haven't heard anything from anybody. Summertime, we probably wouldn't normally meet anyway. The Municipal Alliance?
So many of their programs, we had a meeting yesterday. Many of their programs have been canceled. Currently, the WMMA is under the Governor's Council grant. All grant funding was stopped on March 23rd, 2020. They were supposed to be under a new grant as of July 1st. The Governor's Council has decided to extend the current grant just to pay the coordinator until September 30th. So that means that the funding for next year has been greatly reduced due to the lack of arrests for drugs and alcohol in our community. We were originally funded for approximately $23,000, and now it looks like we'll be funded for approximately $5,600 worth for programs. There is a vaping grant for education with vaping, that's $4,000. And they're waiting to plan on programming, waiting to hear the school plan. So now that they'll know how schools are going to be working, they'll look to see which programs and how they can help to fund, with the grant money that they do have, work into the schedule throughout the year, some programs. The Highlands has also offered to help cover costs of materials for programs. So now the next meeting, they'll sit and look at the school schedule, figure out which programs they're going to run, and then how to finance it.
Kate, are you saying that they lost $18,000 in grant money?
That's what this reads. I got the report from the coordinator, and exact word for word, that's what it says, yeah.
What? That's terrible. Old business. Anyone have any old business?
Make a motion to close old business?
I'll second that.
Dave and Ray. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? New business?
Make a
Anybody?
motion to close new business?
Second.
Ms. Van Dyke, can I just quickly mention?
Sure.
If I'm business, I just wanted to mention that I want to give a shout out to Joanna Riley, one of our school nurses. She gave me a tip back in June that the Department of Health and Human Services may be offering free face coverings. We weren't sure if it would be eligible as a school district, but I told her I would fill out the application, so I applied for it. And I will say it did come through today, so we did get 4,000 of these masks for free.
Wow.
Which is great. So that was an extra bonus because we are ordering obviously additional PPE, but it was a nice surprise to get a free delivery. So I just want to thank Joanna publicly for giving us that tip, because now if you go on the website, it is closed down and it says they're not taking any more requests. So yeah.
That's great. Any other new business? All right. Dave, you made the motion and Ray seconded.
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Let's go to public comment. This portion of the meeting is open to members of the public having legitimate interest in the action of the board for the purpose of addressing any subject matter pertinent to and/or directly related to the operations of the West Milford Public School District. Members of the public who have requested to speak prior to the meeting will be recognized by the chair first. Each speaker will be given 5 minutes for a period of 30 minutes, and then time permitting, other public comment limited to 5 minutes per speaker will be allowed until the 30-minute time period transpires. All speakers are asked to sign the register provided and give their full name, spell their last name, group affiliation, if appropriate, and provide their address. Issues raised by members of the public may or may not be responded to by the board. All comments will be considered and a response will be forthcoming if and when appropriate. The board asks that the members of the public be courteous and respectful of the rights of other individuals when speaking. Specifically, comments regarding students and employees of the board are discouraged, and the board and the administration will not respond to them. Students and employees have specific legal rights afforded to them by the laws of New Jersey. The board is not responsible and is not liable for any comments made by members of the public. Members of the public should consider their comments in the light of the public, in the light of the legal rights of those affected or identified in their comments. Members of the public are reminded that they are legally responsible and liable for their comments. I have Ian Gridley on here.
Yeah, Ally D'Angelo.
Well, Ian's first. I think he was on the original agenda. Go ahead.
Oh, Ian, yes.
Yes, then Kelly.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ian Gridley. My current address is 40 Congress Street in Bloomfield. However, I was raised in West Milford and graduated from West Milford High School. I'm here to speak on the proposed anti-racist curriculum to respond to a few of the points brought up by board members and other speakers after Mr. Gallagher's meeting. So anyone who knows me knows that speaking out really is my favorite part of what I do. However, looking back on my childhood and adolescence, there was one thing that I noticed was never spoken about: race. I came to believe that racism no longer existed, and that to me is the problem. By not talking about race, we effectively ignore ongoing issues like the conditions that caused the murders of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, and thereby create a breeding ground for ignorance. I understand that sounds dramatic, so to support that statement, I reached out to some former black students who I knew from Milford High School and asked if they were comfortable to share their experiences with me from their time in the district. In the interest of their safety, I'm not going to use any names, but here are a few brief excerpts from those conversations. I spoke to a black female who remembered boys trying to date her explicitly in order to have intercourse with her dad. She told me that an ex-boyfriend of hers in high school actually broke up with her because he was getting picked on for dating a black person. She went as far as to tell me she began to hate herself and felt undesirable as a black woman in this town. She tried acting more suburban and started straightening her hair in hopes that a boy would see her as more than just a middle earner. A former student who used to play sports at high school recalled being told to take off his do-rag during practice because that's not how we do things in this school. The same student said he was the subject of a lot of racist jokes from upper class. He specified one joke in particular that hurt him the most. The joke reads, "It's almost Christmas time. I need something to hang from my tree," which is obviously a direct reference to religion. For my last example, I'm going to directly quote a student who shared their story because I don't think some example do that any justice. The quote is, "It happened after a football game performance from the marching band. The male side of the auditorium changing room was peaceful until one student started chanting white power. Others started to follow. Before I knew it, the whole room of 40 to 50 students were making the chant. It was the very first time I witnessed an instance of racism and ignorance in players. All of that being said, racism isn't just making derogatory jokes and saying the enemy. Contrary to those like last month's speaker, Mike Hempstead, will tell you, anti-racist does not mean anti-white. The suggestion he made last month that if we educate white children on racism, they will eventually grow to hate themselves is all the proof I need to show you that the curriculum we currently have in place is not about education as much as it is sanitizing the fuller story of race and culture. Lost my place. A member of the board, Teresa Dwyer, also responded to Mr. Gallagher's statement by saying the school district already teaches slave narrative and that we are doing better than other white schools. These are both great examples of why we need to do more as a district. First, the statement about white schools is extremely confusing because it implies that Mr. Dwyer has obtained copies of all predominantly white-populated school curriculums in our area, has compared them to West Milford's, and has found out, on her own opinion, that we come out here to talk, which to me says that we're completely fine with being here. Why be one of the first schools in North Jersey to begin fully teaching about Black history when the school in town over doesn't teach about Tony Milford? Black history, especially in America, isn't just about the individual stories of people who were enslaved or successful books written by Black people. While those are certainly part of it, it really only paints half the picture. It paints half the picture that white America is comfortable with seeing. There are so many systematic structures and historical events, such as redlining, Black Wall Street, Malcolm X, Jim Crow laws, the war on drugs, mass incarceration, etc., that we aren't taught about, that have all negatively affected the Black community and still continue to affect the Black community to this day. My final point is one that hits home with me. One of the narratives about this issue is that all the people pushing for this anti-racist curriculum are out-of-towners who are trying to push a political agenda on our children. This isn't about politics, it's about doing the right thing. I'm not asking for a social reform 101 class. I'm not asking you to abolish the police, and I'm not asking you to vote for Bernie Sanders. We're asking that if you're going to say that we teach history, that we teach all of history. And that we teach how those events impacted all of society. So I stand here in the same school district that my mom has taught at for almost 20 years, asking us to take the opportunity we have in front of us to create real change. In the words of the late Congressman John Lewis, if not us, who? If not now, then when? Thank you.
Thank you. Did you say someone else signed up?
Ally D'Angelo.
I think she might have left. She was here, I think she left.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
Seeing none, I make a motion to close public comment.
All those, I need a second. Nicole? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we need a motion for executive session.
Are we dismissed from executive?
No, because we have to come back and
We
vote.
have two HIBs to vote on.
Terry, would you want to move that for me?
At 10:30 PM, I make a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel appointments, resignations, current litigation matters, special education matters, negotiations, HIBs, and matters of attorney-client privilege. The executive session minutes will not be released until such time as the privilege or confidentiality is no longer applicable.
And we will be returning to vote. We need a second?
Second.
Ray? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We will be back. I think so. It's very hard for me to see everybody. I'd like to call the meeting back to order. Roll call, Mrs. Francisca?
Mrs. Romeo?
Here.
Mrs. Stevenson? Here. Mr. Stillman? Here. Mrs. Dwyer?
Here.
Mrs. Fritz? Mr. Greeno?
Here.
Mr. Finsky?
Here.
Mr. Conklin?
Here.
Ms. Van Dyke?
Here. Mrs. Dwyer?
Okay, move to approve the recommendation of the superintendent to find the following HIBs as unsubstantiated. 2020 H14 unsubstantiated and 2020 H16 unsubstantiated.
I'll second that.
Did you second it, Dave?
Yep.
Okay. Any discussion? If not, roll call?
Mrs. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mrs. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Greeno?
Yes.
Mr. Shinsky?
Yes.
Mrs. Fritz? Mr. Conklin?
Yes.
Mrs. Romeo?
Yes.
Mr. Stillman? Yes. Mrs. Van Dyke?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're going,
At,
oh, okay.
All right. At 10:58, I move to go into executive session for the purpose of personnel, and we will adjourn from there.
Need a second? Ray? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, good night. I'll talk to you tomorrow.